Hello, and welcome to Spotlight, the official podcast of Grapple. I'm Benno.
I'm JP.
And I'm Matty.
And we're here on a real Wednesday. Spotlight Wednesday, I think it is. We'll call it that, based on the show on tape. Still reverberating there through my brain. Those YouTube subscribers might have seen a fun little video with the Sean's stuff on there as well. Spotify listeners might get a surprise here. If you want to open up the app on Spotify, I don't know if this is good or bad, you're going to see our faces. There is a setting there to turn it off. If you're kind of spooked right now, the fact that you can see all three of us on the Spotify app, there's a setting somewhere in the background of Spotify where you can turn that off. I think Joe Rogan's the only other podcast I'm aware of, not that I even watch it, that turns that option on. Yeah. So, hello, this is what we look like. That's always fun when we get people who don't watch the video. Normally, like, oh, okay, that's weird. I'm seeing your faces.
Instantly disappointed, probably. What can we say?
Oh, but yeah, we're here on Wednesday. How are we doing, folks? Obviously, we all sleep deprived. I was up late last night, split screened. I had AEW and NXT, and then went to work this afternoon. I've had a half an hour nap now, so I feel refreshed. And I
power nap.
I like the it was the most I could fit in. But yeah, I like these little Tuesday Dynamite / NXT nights. Wednesdays are a good night to record to me. Did you manage to fit it in with the new day job, JP? All sorted?
I did. I managed to by the skin of my teeth. There's some stuff I might have gone, yeah, fuck this, and just sort of get through. You can guess what those bits are, but yeah, I managed to squeeze this bit in because there were times where I thought, should I be watching more of this New Japan card? And it's like, fuck it, no. This is where the conversation is. Like, I think I didn't see Sonata versus Evil, and frankly, I'm all right with that. I don't mind.
There's not enough money in the world to pay me to see Sonata and Evil. No. Matty says that about New Japan in general.
Yeah.
Exactly. Except AEW, really, Benno.
But yeah, we should probably we're recording this live on Wednesday as ratings news kind of breaks. We've got quick plugs to get out the way. What have we got going on this week, JP? Before we get to it.
Well, loads of stuff on here. The first thing we're gonna be doing, is we've got a film club poll, which I know Matty is going to do the announcement of what the Halloween Film Club is going to possibly consist of, and then all patrons at patreon.com/grapple, you can then vote in the poll and decide what it is we're going to be watching. And so, Matty, what is the theme?
The theme this month, because with it being October, boys, is the upper mid card of horror. Like last year, we done the main events, didn't we, JP, with Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead, and all the lads there. But this year, it's the upper mid carders. Now, I had to think about this one and took a few, suggestions online and stuff like that. But we've ended up going with, we've got Psycho with Norman Bates, JP. We've got Candyman with obviously Candyman. We've got Saw with Jigsaw. We've got Scream with Ghostface. And the last one, JP, you might have to help me out with here as I get my notes up, is The Omen, Damien. So they're the five that is on the poll this time around. So yeah, any thoughts on them, boys? Or have you seen any of them, or haven't seen none of them films?
Seen all of them.
Right.
We're talking about the originals here, aren't we?
Oh, all original. Yeah, none of that. Yeah. No remake stuff allowed, JP. No, not allowed.
Not having that in the slightest. Yeah, no, I've seen all of them. So I'm quite excited about this. What I was trying to think of was what their wrestling counterparts would be. What upper mid carders are they? Because like you can say, like, I don't know, Scream. You'd argue Ghostface has made as big a content. Like, I suppose I was nearly going to say he's like Roman Reigns, and I realised I'm very dubious territory there. But if you think about it, in a contemporary landscape, he's kind of dominated still, hasn't he?
Oh, he took over. But Saw, JP, I've never seen any of the 10 films, and that's quite on topic because number 10's just been released, hasn't it? I've never seen any of them, or I've seen no Scream. So really? I'm hoping really that one of them two films wins.
Scream's the one that shocks me because that's like that period of film screams you, Matt. Like that
It
screams
is.
like
I
your
know.
type, literally
Yeah,
screams like
it
your
does.
type of thing. Like when we did the when we've talked David Arquette in the past, it's just like it's a
Yeah.
mind blower for me that like it almost always comes up and you've not seen it. Like it's like
Never
I don't know.
ever
It
seen it.
feels like it was a rite of passage in like the early 2000s, where for me
Yeah.
like Scream was something you went with your mates to see the cinema and get like sort of like the
Or
sequels.
hide the VHS or something at least. Yeah.
And then like even like the Scary Movie like knockoffs as well. I would have
I've
thought
seen
they
them. I love
yours,
them.
me
I
too.
love the scary movies.
But
I
you've
think
not
it
seen
was-
the source material.
Exactly. I think I went with them over the Screams. I don't know. Wild.
That seems like mental behaviour.
Yeah.
Honestly, to not have done that. But yeah, it's interesting to think in terms of like Candyman, for example. I went to the cinema to see that. You paid an extra £1 at Turnpike Lane and they'd let you in. So I saw that in the set. Far too young again on there. The only other one I would think of was Hannibal Lecter. If you wanted to go Silence of the Lambs, but then we're getting into like it's not really orthodox horror, is it?
And that's that No Long Epics with him either, isn't it? 22 minutes of screen time, JP Hannibal Lecter. Then he won the Academy Award, didn't he? None of this 45-minute like epic, is it? So yeah.
Well, there we go.
Mid-card.
Yeah, I love that it's upper mid card as well. We did the main eventers, so you know you got to go that bit lower. Mid cards is harder next year. Openers are harder. I don't know who that are.
Oh, we're going like indie stuff. We're going lower level, like B movie horrors. My slasher world, but yeah,
indie stars. Indie stars of horror. I reckon we could do that.
We could do that. We could do it.
Could do that.
Is it a horror IWC? I say that like I know that I don't know.
Ty West
it
stuff.
Absolutely is.
X.
Oh, brilliant, JP. I didn't put them in there because, like, Pearl is an iconic character now. You know what I mean for me, but it's maybe too modern. Do you know what I mean? So, and like this push to the top. So we need that upper mid card who like have been established. Do you know what I mean over the long period of time? So, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
I'm excited for it. Like I'll be listening like the patrons. It's going to be you two and Grapple Gareth recording that on Sunday. I'm going to be in London for the Copperbox show on Saturday. But yeah, patrons will be able to get the votes in tonight. JP, get it to
yes,
get your thoughts in. Let the lads know what you want, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that'll be obviously this week. We're going to be talking. We're going to be doing a Halloween Havoc. We put the power back in the patrons' hands, so there's a Halloween Havoc flashback poll we're going to be doing this month as well. And King of the Mountain, Robert Brocky's got a fun one to do with us as well as far as spooky moments go. And yeah, the only other plug to say is that time is coming as well. So plenty going on over there, and you're going to be busy this month too, JP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got time. We obviously we observed this as well recently, but we're going to be doing with WH Park and Rich Fan. We're going to be doing an Ahsoka series review because obviously I haven't had as much of a chance to do any of the kind of like our little bits of Star Wars content. So we're going to be doing that on Sunday as well. So yes, we'll be having that out as well at some point and be able to have that up on the YouTube for people to see free up on there. But yeah, loads of stuff. The Observe This was great as well for Sean. And we asked the eternal question, can you give a match that you've seen half of 4.75 stars? Like, that's a question that I think it needs to be thought about even more. The shit he was pulling in 97, Dave, like bloody hell.
It's the same rating as the Jericho 6-man gets these days, so you know it fits in. But yeah, me and JP went through. We went back into our favorite subject, mate, to Matty, which was 1997, because of course it was. So yeah, people could check out that as we looked at the Observer of the Week. Sean lost his smile as a follow up to the Sean series.
Yes.
If you enjoyed that on the Patreon, or
he might have got a smile back, mightn't he? Now after these.
Wow.
On that note, we were delaying the pre-show, but as we have gone live, we have had some news in, and we should now we got the plugs out the way. We should get into the main stuff. As Tuesday Night War was last night, and I might have lost some sleep, but I think Tony Khan's gonna lose more than that. As our patrons are letting us know in the chat. JP, NXT has won the night, 921k to 609k in overall viewers, and then in the demo NXT 0.30 to Dynamite 0.26. Being described as NXT crushing Dynamite in overall viewership, and even winning the demo as well. So Gareth should have gone even further with that clip that he got me on from last year's Lightly Unlikely, when I was adamant that NXT would never pass AEW in an overall viewership this year. Not only has that happened, they've beaten them in the demo as well with this Tuesday Night War. I mean, we all mostly expected it, but I don't know. What's your immediate reaction to it, JP? I did. I got an inkling, I think, from Tony Khan's tweet storm tonight. It felt a little bit like he was getting it out there, knowing this was coming. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Immediate thoughts is the Dynamite rating is a lot lower than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
The NXT rating slightly above. I thought it'd be 900 to 750. But I think the thing to think about this, as much as anything else, is this feels like it's kind of about momentum. The sky isn't falling in with AEW, but they're a long way from being. If WWE compete and take them kind of seriously, and if you think about the NXT product that was up against AEW early doors, it was kind of a mess. It's a much more organized product, if nothing else. And so you put a few big stars onto it, it's going to cause a little bit of damage. I think it's going to just be interesting to see the way that Tony Khan responds to this. Because really, at this point, you kind of need cool heads in the room. You might argue that creatively, they're going in the right direction, but it also makes me feel that their US business is getting really soft. There's a point where they need to, like, it feels like the attendances are down. The TV rating, like we're talking about a US TV rating taking kind of like a big hit as well. And they're not going to be doing Tuesday. It's an odd night for them to be on. There are reasons, but 609,000. This used to be the other way round if it was head to head.
Last time it was, and it was a Tuesday last time too. And that's the thing, we're all talking about it like it's a given. Because for whatever reason, Americans can't deal. You change the channel, you change your listing, change from TBS to TNT or TNT to TBS. You change a day, and no one can find it on the platter, and no one watches it. Like, apparently, all the AEW fans are busy on Tuesdays, but they're not on Wednesdays. I don't know. It's like the people who switching channels. You know what I mean? Like when we've got the quarter hours here as well. We can go through too as well. Paul have revealed them on their stream. But it's like, these Americans who are like, oh, I don't like this wrestler. I'm going to watch like 5 minutes of VR and then I'm going to turn back. Like, what are they doing? What are they putting on? Have you ever watched like the footy, Matt, and gone like, you know what, I'm bored here. I'm going to watch something else for 5 minutes? Like,
never. It doesn't. The remote's not in my hand, and that's one of the only times it's not when the footy's on.
I will flick between sports, I must confess.
Okay.
Generally different sports, but if there's like, Rugby World Cup and the Premier League, I might switch over.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a disaster, but it's not good from AEW's point of view. I'm looking at the quarter hours here. Like, I think that the bits where, just based on Pollock and Thurston's stream, like the bits where they got smashed, the opening quarter, NXT 991,000 to 731 for AEW. Closing quarter 960,000, which was up 11% on the prior quarter for WWE NXT. And I probably should just say WWE at this point. The Undertaker versus Cope on the other channel, Matt, 606,000, as Adam Copeland continues to prove himself as a fantastic ratings draw. The high point for AEW appears to be the end of the Jericho Hobbs match and the Adam Cole Roderick Strong video into the Orange Cassidy Ray Phoenix stuff outside of that opening quarter. Sorry, that's 673,000. And the high watermark for NXT was again that opening quarter for them, which kind of shows your interest was up, it being on a Tuesday. As well as the quarter that I had the Cody Rhodes backstage promo on Dominic Mysterio versus Ilya Dragunov, and then that main event quarter with the post match with the Undertaker as well. I will say, looking at those quarters of the Code Light today, like those last two, like I thought with AEW having the gigantic overrun, and I just kind of thought that we might have something a bit closer, 600,000 to almost 1 million, JP. Like, people were aware, they were on both channels, and it doesn't seem like I think the draw of an aging out Undertaker coming out and hitting a choke slam was too much for some to resist.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about this, isn't it? It's about how I always think it's about how seriously WWE took this. And fuck me, they wheeled out some guns, and they heavily, rumored that he was going to be out there. But you stick Cena and Cody Rhodes on the same show, it was a weird thing to watch. I mean, do those people even fucking pay? I might add, like, to go to the performance center. That's the thing I can't wait. Are they getting in there for? They're not. Are they paying? I'm assuming that they'd have to.
They must do, I think.
Getting a fucking money's worth this week, weren't they? In terms of star power, Christ, and this
well, the queues down the street, weren't there, for this week? Like,
I've seen that video. Yeah,
it was a hot free ticket. If it was if that counts. What's your reaction, Matt? I can see you there sitting there waiting. Stuart.
I'm just loving it. I'm waiting for you to just, no, but I just see it watching the chat as well.
Where's your NXT t-shirt, mate?
No, I've got my Jay White on tonight just to show you that I'm not like loyal to Sean. But people forget, like we said on the weekend show, it beat it last week as well, didn't it? It took a bit of the gloss off this. I know we've had wars up, and it's been great. It has. It's been like, just waiting for it and stuff like that. But last week it won as well by like 57,000, was it? So the only downfall for me is I thought it'd get 1 million. I thought NXT would crack that 1 million at some point. And it was 10,000 off, you're saying, for that opening quarter. So it nearly got there. But yeah, it's just, I know they put Cena and, as you say, JP, Undertaker and Cody, but it beat it last week with your Dominic's a champion, Becky's already on there as a champion. So it's not as if, like, they have been using these names for quite a long time now. A few months said on the weekend show as well. They're established on NXT now every week, the Judgment Day and stuff. So is it wild times.
Is it too early to say that Edge affects ratings the same way that Dani Behr affected 90s footballers? It hurts,
I mean,
doesn't it?
I'm looking at this pattern. Like, no, I mean, I know, like, I've got my. I'll give you grief, Matty, with your WWE flag and stuff like that. But I've got like a "fuck Adam Copeland" t-shirt somewhere.
I know you're willing to go red straight away on him, aren't you?
Hey, it's got to be said, and selective Matty-nomics. So you did point out today to us on our group chat that his segment did well, apparently on YouTube, or at least it was trending well. We don't know yet. It was in the 500,000-600,000 range. His debut did like 5-6 million on YouTube, and that's one of AEW's biggest videos. So there is that. There's that big star element coming in, but I don't know. I felt like it last week, JP, when we talked about it on the weekend show. I do think you'd expect a bit more. Like, I'm looking at these quarter hours, and like that last quarter is not the worst quarter, and it's slightly up 606,000 from 559 the quarter, pretty much the 3 quarters before it. But like, it's lower than the first 3 quarters of the show. No real bump there. You're talking like a minuscule difference. And it was kind of the same last week. You had the gigantic overrun, and that was relatively flat, if not a dip, which is kind of a win for AEW. I want to write it off entirely, but I've got my own baggage with this, so I'll put it to you as a neutral observer, JP. Matty's the Edge fan, I'm the non-Edge fan. Like, this does seem to happen, doesn't he? He's got a history of it, other than when he's shagging Lita on telly. Like, he's got that record since he's come back. There was that mad week where the NXT rating sunk, the Raw rating sunk, and the SmackDown rating sunk. Like, this man is, if this is the CM Punk replacement, and Punk's got his own issues as a draw, like, there's no indication of any effect on ratings over these 2 weeks, at least, given maybe it's a biased sample the second week.
I think, what is the feud? He's been put in there to reenact a feud that we've seen before. And it's been done with all of this stuff. So it's not even like he's being put into like a kind of new and novel situation. Like, you put Danielson in there against Kenny Omega, if you want to think the other end of the scale, how long ago, in front of a sold out Grand Slam like venue, if you use people in the correct way. And I'm, as logical as it is to have him involved in this, it's like you've got all of these kind of matches, and it felt, I'll be honest, watching Dynamite, when we get into kind of the reviews, it felt like throwing shit up against a wall and seeing kind of what sticks. There was an element of kind of panic about all of this, because he's coming into a product that's not exactly hot in the US. Like, say creatively it's better, but it's certainly not hot. Like, and the attendance, there's just this sort of like the way I talk about like virtuous circles. It's going the other fucking way. And this bloke
nice cold,
on.
JP.
and he's got a track record as well with this, and it feels. Dylan put in the chat earlier on. It's something I was going to think. There's other suggestions of where they actually go, but like fucking hell, go to the UK for a bit. Go in front of some hotter crowds where people will feel like it's an exciting product. But at the moment, it is. And then we've got Edge versus Christian in 2023. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to defend that one. And like overall, like I'm not surprised NXT won, but I've got to admit I am a bit surprised by the gap in it. Maybe I'm surprised as well. Undertaker didn't draw over 1 million, Matty. So maybe that goes against his cards. John Cena quarter's not as well as it is. They pulled all the big guns out for a reason? There are negatives to that. When we get into the shows themselves, I didn't walk out of NXT going, I want to watch that again. I don't think they put the best foot forward as far as their roster went, because they just for me, they put everything towards just winning this night by literally any means necessary, and whether that means plugging Undertaker into a segment that he doesn't fit, and coming out on a motorbike when Baron Corbin came out on one last week, like that, to me, that told me it's like they definitely didn't plan that. They didn't even know at that point that Undertaker was going to be on the show. They threw everything at it, and I think, to be honest, it would have been embarrassing if it wasn't by 300,000 for W to win here. Like, if this had been close, that might have been a moral victory for AEW. Like, WWE threw everything at this and still didn't batter them. They battered them, They did. And yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, they've been given an absolute shoe in here as well. But
I had fun. That's the main thing. We all had fun, didn't we, JP? Yeah. That's it. I was last night. I was literally, like I said, sat there with a split screen going, flicking back and forth again. Pretty much. I mean, it's 2023. I don't feel like anybody needs to literally physically change the channel. I just had them both on at the same time, and I'd mostly have, at least for the start of the show, I had the volume going on NXT because they were very promo heavy, and then eventually it was just that was the thing. When it came to match versus match, I think even Matty can agree. I think
even I'll say, of course,
NXT out of the water. And I think quality of show, I would argue AEW blew NXT out of the water. But I do think it's the star power there. It's the normal night that's kind of helped it there. I mean, it's a positive though. I loved it. Like, I love fucking Tony Khan getting on Twitter and kicking off last night, calling what was he calling Triple H and
bald asshole, really?
Bald asshole from Curb Your Enthusiasm reference there, like going wild, like telling people not to bother watching the show. Fucking, I love all this. It made Dynamite, I thought, a great show last night. It pushed WWE to hotshot a few things and treat this like it was a Raw reunion. I do more stuff on NXT. Like, this is the thing, the talking point from the Cornettes of the world about the Attitude Era is like, oh, it killed the business because it pushed Raw and Nitro to this crash TV formula and the business has never recovered. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. Old man who works in the wrestling business. Like, absolutely, I can see your point of view. But from a fan page point of view, it made things better. It was fucking boss that each week on Raw or Nitro, you didn't know what they were going to do. And they were throwing fucking shit at the wall to win a crazy ratings war. That's what this week was. It forced Tony Khan to reach into his locker of big matches and put big stars against each other on a show. And like I say, JP, it forced WWE to use the non-NXT stars on there. Like, I'd take it. It was the most I've ever watched an NXT TV show in about 2 or 3 years. Like, this was every Tuesday night. Took it to my veins. I'd want it, and I'd take it any week rather than the slightly cold product we've got right now.
It's interesting if you think about all the reports of Triple H being finally in charge of creative, and you link it into that, and you think he's hot. Obviously, he's got Shawn Michaels running NXT, and they're kind of hot-shotting it, making themselves look very good to TKO, particularly if they're looking to sell NXT as a product on TV, and they just think, oh, we've just found the formula, which again isn't fucking rocket science. Why don't we put some big stars on a show and people will watch it? Wild shit. Like, I'm sure if you put Prince Harry on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of It, people will fucking watch. Like, that'll be happening. It's not complex though in order to do it, but they've got the resources to do this kind of stuff. I just think for AEW, like, it is the reaction for it. This felt more like TNA up against WWE on Monday nights than WCW up against WWE, where it felt like there's a lack of star power. Like, I can get why that this rating kind of happened. And I think a lot of the things that Tony Khan himself has glossed over by saying everything's great, look, this prick's gone, and we're doing some storylines, And look, we're delivering these great pay-per-views, and it's like, yeah, but your TV is missable. And we've been saying this for quite a long time. And I think this kind of proved the point that if NXT loads up for a week, wrestling fans are just going to go, yeah, fuck it. What's on there? Do I need to see this? No. And I think
especially when he's told us, JP, that you don't need to watch the TV. As you say,
what are you going to see?
He's told us.
One side of an arena.
He hasn't said.
He's basically said it, Benno.
What's the quote?
JP, didn't he, about one of them press conferences after one of the pay-per-views where he said, we've had this great run of shows, this great run of pay-per-views.
He did say
basically did say, you don't have to watch the telly. I mean, just saying it, Benno, all over our Discord and chat for nothing. He basically said that. Please someone back me up and get the quote out. Because it's remarkable stuff. Well, he's an idiot.
I mean, but we're getting sidetracked here. What's that got to do with this? Like, that's nothing to do with why they've lost this Tuesday Night War, is it? Like, there are bigger AEW issues, obviously, but that's not really relevant. Is that relevant to this conversation? Like, that's
in a way for me it is, Benno, in a way, because it's not going up against Raw or SmackDown here. If he's as JP said, if he's
but not on their night either. Like, I'm not an AEW defender, but we've got to be fair.
Okay, okay, fair enough. But he's not. He said and you've just said there he's gone into his bag of tricks to load this up. So why isn't he doing it every week then? Why is he not? That's what I'm saying. So he's done it now because he's seen that he had to get moved for one night. He should have been doing this for the last 2, 3, 4, 6 months. You've said it yourselves on the other spotlights. The builds have been terrible. Now, all of a sudden, he's thought, we'll have to do it. But honestly, that quote, I'm going to have to dig it up myself, honestly. Right there.
We've got a show to do. But anyway, if we've got quotes, let's get them right. Like what's the... So, what can we, like, learn from what NXT did? Like, are you going to... Based on this week, are you going to watch NXT more, Matty? Are you going to watch NXT more, JP? Like, is there a lesson to learn from that?
But I think that comes, sorry, JP, but I think that comes in with, like, if people have already been dipping in, Benno, you know what I mean? If people, like, as I said the day before, the ratings have improved on NXT the last, 2, 3 months. So people are gradually tuning in to seeing what they're doing. Maybe for the AEW fans who did flip and flop over, change the channels or whatever, they mightn't think it. But I think, like you're saying there, they dug in getting all the big stars, which they did, of course. No one can deny that. But I think they used Cena quite well. And if you're looking at it from an NXT thing, he was involved in that backstage with Carmelo and Trick Williams. Now, if you're a fan of NXT, you can see that they're building that storyline to where they're going to split up. And that played into that. So, all right, they put him in the corner of Carmelo Hayes, but they used him in a backstage as well to further one of their storylines. So they did use him okay for me. Paul Heyman done a little backstage non-audio with The Rock's daughter, which is probably going to a little Easter egg for down the line, where if The Rock does come with Roman, they might use in that storyline as part of the bloodline. So I don't think it's all this like, it was just the big stars. They did do some little things that if you are a fan, it will carry on and it will deliver going forward. So, you know, I think it was all right.
JP?
So the thing, I would actually agree in the sense that it has been on a roll, because it's done the thing of using big stars, but very sparingly, not like this, not like in this way where we're chucking, that they were throwing stuff on there to win a rating. But it does point to the idea that NXT has a broader sense of momentum. They did a good crowd for their last show. We said it ourselves. It's not perfect, but it's good. All those people who were up against the Dynamite before, who were very, very inexperienced, have got better. There is, and that's just through time. And it's just that AEW, and I think this is the thing for them, is that they haven't taken their TV seriously enough, and they've almost taught people, look, you can miss this and watch the pay-per-views, which, if we're honest, we don't watch Impact every week. Why?
No.
We don't need to see it. We can just watch the pay-per-views. And we're getting to that point with AEW because they're not making like kind of they're better, but then there's times where, like, and we'll talk about it, like that Tony Storm stuff, I honestly to Christ was wondering, why is this on the TV? And it's kind of embarrassing. Like, it really is. Like, that's the kind of stuff where they're throwing stuff up against there. Like, so many matches on there, match after match after match after match. And it was like, you mentioned the John Cena stuff. That's a storyline going throughout a show. That's a reason to stay with that show. And I think AEW fell into the kind of Mookie-nomics trap, which is like, you know, you're trying to play, you know, checkers up against someone who's playing chess. It's just like, nah, these fuckers, they're not here to play. They're
I
going
don't
to
know if this is sorry, JP. I don't know if this is like a thing what we might talk about when we go through the shows, but it's like it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like foreshadowing what's coming. Like that time Samoa Joe come out, JP, and said about MJF basically challenging to a match, and he had to go through a tournament. We knew who he was going to win that. Same with Juice Robinson. Why did he have to say? You basically know he's going to win that Diamond Ring thing next week, and if he doesn't, I'll be shocked. The jumping, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know who's going to win basically next week with him saying that. And for me, you shouldn't do that. It's wild.
And it's kind of still not saying that AEW in and of itself is a bad show. I'm saying this
where great matches
for the last months they've got stuff together, but I think they went through such a period that they couldn't do where they took the TV entirely for granted, taught people it's missable. Even the bloody podcasters just went, I don't need to see Rampage, and out the way it goes. All of a sudden, you don't need to see Rampage, and you're not in the habit of watching Rampage. Why? Because what the fuck happens on Rampage? Yeah, there's some good wrestling on it, but guess what? There's good wrestling on everywhere, and it's available all over the world. You've got to do something more than that, and they haven't done it. They haven't been open to kind of ideas until we've reached a point where things are going to be bad. And we say this: the business and the ratings generally follows the creative. So maybe we're in that part where when the creative was shit, this is where the ratings get shit, and now you have to go on a run of making good TV in front of what look like, you know, enthusiastic but very small audiences in big arenas, which I don't think is a good look. I don't know why I don't do concert hall. Make it look like an interesting product. Do it in front of a wild fucking crowd that's like 500 of them in a proper like rock venue. Do something interesting.
But JP, someone said
empty basketball arenas where you're only filming one side. So televisually, they don't fucking do anything. So you don't ever see an arena because you're only ever seeing one small section of it because the numbers are shit.
But they got the next year booked out, haven't they, in arenas? So they can't even like make a change.
They booked an arena named after a serial killer, for Christ's sake. I think that's playing with fire, isn't it?
I mean, like I say, overall, I don't disagree. I mean, we've talked about it like at length on this podcast about like AEW's, you know, issues when it comes to building to the pay-per-views, when it comes to relying on the good wrestlers to give you good wrestling matches. I think that's absolutely true as a broad strokes thing. I just don't want to overplay what that means for this particular night. I just think that, you know, this is a no, I don't want to call it like a mirage or like a one-off, but it is, you know, again, a Tuesday night, not AEW's normal night, up against NXT that was abnormally loaded. You know, I think last week's rating, which we talked about on the weekend show, Matt, is a better example of, you know, the warning sign. Like I say, when we talked about it on the last year at the, you know, we did the likely unlikely. My biggest thing there was, you know, that I didn't think it could happen in a million years that NXT could ever beat AEW as far as overall ratings go, and the certainty in my voice when you listen back to that is like, it's not even an argument I'd make now. If you'd have asked me a month ago, I'd go, yeah, that's possible. It can probably happen. NXT's up, AEW's down for whatever, you know, the reason is, and we've kind of gone into the broader strokes reasons on why we've kind of felt AEW has cooled off over the last year. It's the creative, it's the world champion. I think is a big element of what's going wrong. Like I say, it's that reliance on the roster to bail you out on pay-per-views, and you know, I agree with that talking point. You know, we've had world-class pay-per-views as far as like matches go, but that doesn't necessarily mean any of the criticism leading into those pay-per-views have been wrong. There is just clearly something up. It's not as hot a product as it was a few years ago. These are situations that would have been thought of as unthinkable years ago. Like the one point I will agree with: at what point did we, you know, in the old Wednesday Night War, like it became a point where it was a foregone conclusion, wasn't it? Like we stopped even really considering who was going to win each given week because it was obvious AEW were gonna win every week. So there is something of a warning sign to take from there. But like I say, it's the overall that's probably the bigger Rory rather than like this one-off. As far as like the content of the shows, do we want to talk AEW first, NXT first? What's the plan of action here? What do you reckon, JP?
I don't know. I want to chicken out and let Matty decide.
No, we'll talk AEW first. We'll go through the matches first.
I mean, AEW is considerably the better show. Like considerably, I would say. Like I mean, I can't. really say, as far as NXT goes, I enjoyed the opening Cody promo. Outside of that, I like seeing Ilya Dragunov. Like I was saying before, there was nothing on the show that particularly made me go, "Oh, I'm going to watch that next week," or "I'm into that." Like there was nothing that made me regret having not really been an NXT viewer the whole like last while. I think AEW had a considerably better show on the night. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I haven't seen the buy-in, so I don't know how good that was, whether or not that would change it. I would say there's stuff about AEW I'm not mad about, but in the main, yeah, it's a much better show. Like in terms of, because it's got a better caliber of performer on the undercard. It hasn't got obviously as many stars or the kind of WWE and no one on the level of like a John Cena to be able to kind of put on the show. That's the thing it kind of lacks. But yeah, it's a better show, but it's not a hot show still at the same time.
Well, that's what I thought.
That's the other thing.
It's probably in ring wise, but this is what we keep coming back to all the time. What we said on the weekend show, in ring, yeah, it was a better show. But I just liked NXT for the fact of like, because it was advertised, but you just everyone kept coming up a surprise, so you didn't know what was going to happen next. From like even the Pillman Jr. video, Jay Cargill getting out the car.
That was well done.
They kept on giving you them little nuggets. The Ava backstage with Paul Heyman. Stuff like that I love, so it kept me like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do before this ad break, or what are they going to do after this match. I was genuinely glued more than I have been to some Raw and SmackDowns in the last 6 or 7 months or whatever. I was just looking forward to seeing what they've done next. But AEW, like the opening match and even like, the main event even in certain parts, better matches, of course.
Yeah, well, let's talk the main stuff from AEW. I thought Brian and Swerve, absolutely love that. As far as I did also enjoy Christine getting the opening promo. They're leaning hard into the meme side of things with him as a heel, but him being like that, the explainer for why there was no ad breaks in the first 45 minutes of AEW, I thought was perfect. I thought he was fantastic. That was a great way to. We had our split screen going. We had Cody on one screen, Christine on the other. Like could have told me 3 years ago that I'd be struggling to decide who to watch. It was in the end we did watch AEW and Christine, and then. Yeah, I thought Swerve and Danielson. I think, to be honest, I'd say the two big matches, JP, I thought were extremely strong. I thought Swerve and Danielson was just a masterclass in selling from Danielson, and I think it was a great advert for Swerve as a main event wrestler. I feel like he fit 2 in a row now, as far as like, you're fitting that mold of being a top guy who can go in there with the other top guys, not get dwarfed by the occasion, feel a star that fits in with that other big star. And to be honest, even in losing, which would have been my big talking point even a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I don't think lost much. I think, how many times on this podcast have we said we want to see the big stars wrestle the big stars? But when that happens, somebody's got to lose. And, they're clearly, I think, leaning towards, I think Brian's probably going to be Christian, and maybe they'll go forward with him as TNT champion. He'll do some kind of defending champion gimmick going forward or something I could absolutely pitch. But as far as setting it up, it was kind of what we talked about, what was going to happen. I think Swerve was going to lose to through Hangman getting involved, and they kind of did the same the other way with the
you called
with
it
the Hangman Jay White stuff. That's pretty much. I mean, it's EWR book and it's not ours.
You've got
right next to where it's got a title belt stolen, and where it's got the other quick Tony Khan angles book battle royal book tournament. There is a button there for interference finish, but it made sense. And if you were going to book those two big matches on the show, I think they got out of them both. With everybody looking strong, and I thought two cracker matches on the night, JP.
Yeah, I would agree with you with that. I mean, it was just the fact that Swerve now is in that kind of top mix, and he feels like he is at their level, like just in terms of the crowd and the crowd interest, or what there is of that crowd that's there. Like, and you don't blame them. Like for this as well, because it's just a simple case of presentation, because it's just the company that he's now keeping, and the fact that it takes a distraction for Bryan Danielson to get like a quick win. I don't think like while in the main I'd be like, no, this guy shouldn't be losing. If it results in the match, obviously at Full Gear, that we're going to get between them as well, and that can perhaps go the direction of like a really kind of like slightly bloody brawl. Like it's still like, if we're going to see this as like a kind of trilogy of matches as it should be, this is like kind of booking 101. And yeah, I don't think, like neither man lost anything as a result of it, and it was good just seeing the mix. I thought of those four together. Like, I know that they weren't all involved in each other's in each other's angles, but I liked that idea of like, okay, so we're focusing on singles feuds that aren't just for titles, because it just makes end up devaluing all of these kind of titles. But there's people who are competing, you know, the winners of those are kind of getting closer to it. So it's a tournament without it being a fucking tournament. But you don't have to hit people over the head because you're allowing these reasons like to kind of happen. So yeah, I really enjoyed like both those matches. I'd say from an in-ring in terms of TV wrestling, like some good shit on this week.
Any thoughts on the two big matches, Matty? Start with Swerve and Brian. Swerve continues to knock it out the park, doesn't he?
Just glad to see it, Benno. Fucking, like, as you said, I've loved him since seeing him on the indies, and I'm just glad he's getting his good push now, so everyone can see like the star that he is. The music, the entrance, everything just fits. As JP said, he's over with the crowd now to a great extent. So I'm just happy to see him get all his flowers here. And yeah, as you say, both said it there. Losing to Brian, even if it was clean, wouldn't be the end of the world, because obviously Brian's a big name there, but. I said it furthers the Hangman feud on, and we will get that gimmick match at Full Gear, so that bodes well for him. And then Brian moves on to Christian, so yeah, it was a great opener.
Definitely great use of the time as well while we were in the 1-to-1. And again, that's the M4. They played the mucky ball and they lost, but no, I thought it was a great use of the first half hour. I'd say Jay White and Hangman I enjoyed for other reasons. I think both of these matches could easily have been, say that these were the two big Full Gear matches. I'd have been happy with that. I think they would have like fit perfectly. They felt pay-per-view quality, which is definitely gonna make it sting with the overall numbers. But I thought this was a good advert for Jay White. I thought the Hangman match. I felt like in ring. Again, similar to Swerve. If this was not a test, we know Jay White can go at a main event level. He went at a main event level. He felt like he fit. He's definitely kind of, as far as the promos go, I think he's getting the better of MJF and continues to. I think the post-match stuff with him and MJF, obviously there's the element of it we should probably talk about JP with that's kind of grabbed all of the headlines with the Juice Robinson line in there, but just based on performance, I felt like it was a better night for MJF this week than it was last week. I'm glad he kind of took the feedback from Suit and others who were very critical, and as were we, of us, sing along with the Rock style stuff he was doing last week, and didn't seem that arse that his belt had been stolen by the heel. He clearly took that to heart, because this week he was plugging all those gaps and making it cut for the MJF character, a impassioned babyface promo that kind of fit with the tone of things. And I thought Jay White, was great. Continues to look at $1 million with that belt. I continue to absolutely love the Bulk Gold stable. Just all of those lads together it's just gold for me. Like I've said a couple of times, it reminds me of when DX first formed the Triple H X-Pac New Age Outlaws version, where just the stable just works immediately and it benefits everybody that's in there. That's what that feels like. And Jay White, unlike when he first came into the company, JP, feels like maybe not the next world champion, which might be the negative, because I don't think in a million years I think he's beaten MJF, but he's the clear leader of that stable. He's the clear one to Juice Robinson being like B or C at this point in that group, and he feels like a main event talent and a main event heel that's going to hold his own with MJF, even if it's maybe, to Matty's point earlier, a foregone conclusion what the finish to this feud is going to be.
He's much better being like kind of in the promos. It's interesting like how good he is reactive wise, because he doesn't play up to the fucking bullshit, and it becomes the usual MJF ends up crushing people contest, which is not what we got here. And it makes for a better kind of storyline. I agree with the stuff about Jay White, which is kind of incredible when you think of how far he's come. But there's a smoothness and a polish to him in the ring. And you just think of that kind of slimy top line heel that they've been missing. This guy fills that kind of gap with an act that's just very good and well tailored. And like you say, every time I see the Guns, I just think of the New Age Outlaws. That's all I ever end up thinking of, and how they took two guys who meant nothing, and all of a sudden they meant something, and then they made sense to be in this kind of faction, guys who could take falls, but they're getting better all the fucking time as well. It's just these are the acts to focus with. Now, the ratings may not belie it, but creatively, this is a lot more interesting as soon as we're talking about like this combination of people. And you're thinking, oh, okay, there is more interesting things. It's just, are these things going to end up catching fire, or the ensuing feuds from that end up catching fire as well? But like, so Jay White, they're going to do 100,000 on fucking pay-per-view, and if you're doing monthly pay-per-views, you might as well put Jay White in the main event. Get him, see if he can have a really good match at the top level as well, which kind of works with an audience. And you go, okay, now we can get an impression, especially like the Kia Forum as well. And you expect it to be a good crowd for this. And you think to yourself, okay, if he can do well there, that's just going to make him seem ever so hotter. So it's that idea of like rebuilding people, but it's just hoping the rest of the show kind of gets its shit together, I think.
Yeah, that's the biggest viewership, by the way. Our friend Ibu of WrestlePure is pointing out it was Dominic Mysterio and Ilya 958,000 viewers to Jay White's Hangman Page's 540,000. But to your point, JP, you have got to, it might be something in that, but you've got to, hold that, haven't you? You've got to push forward with, if you want to establish you guys and stuff, you want to do that. But that's going to be a sore one when AEW comb through the quarter hours when all is said and done. Does that conflict you, Matty, in your Hangman t-shirt here? Sorry, your Jay White t-shirt here.
Yeah.
You're a big Jay fan as well.
I am. That's what I mean. It's good to see Swerve. Good to see Jay White getting the push he deserves, really, Benno. As you say, he should have had more of a... I mean, you got to introduce people to a company in a certain way, but his two introductions to AEW weren't the best, and now he's getting a good push. And let's just see, saying there, the match is going to be good. Him and MJF will not let you down at the pay-per-view. So it's just, as you say, Benno, it's another 5 weeks though to build this up. You'll obviously get MJF running through the gauntlet, which I said on the weekend show, which they should do. Booking 101 again, JP. Go to that and have him run through, and obviously the Acclaim coming in to help him. But yeah, Jay White, good to see. And it's just after this world title match, what happens to him? But for the meantime, doing very well.
I think this feud, I like it, and I like Jay White's performance in it. But I think Rover put on a Discord today, it does stink of MJF just having too many ideas. It's like, what are we going to do? We're going to do a mystery a mystery beatdown angle. Week after, we're going to do a belt steal angle. This week, we're doing the roller quarters thing, which is grabbing. It's like, which lane are we going with this feud?
At least he mentioned the mask angle, Benno. They actually Jay White mentioned that, didn't he? At least he did bring that up this week.
To the credit, they did, and presumably that's going to end up being Adam Cole. And we can talk about the fucking shit show that was that segment on this week's Dynamite. You got to learn a lesson, lads. I do feel like that one last week that died to death in its quarter hour, but overall was just critically panned. To do another one this week seems toned. What's more toned deaf, JP, doing that segment, or the other MJF stuff we should we'll probably talk about as well?
Oh no, God, I was listening to you guys talk about it with the segments with Adam Cole on the weekend show.
They're just
and
shit,
doing
aren't they?
it twice
Who
last
finds them
week.
Funny?
I like vignettes, Benno. This one was terrible though. Last week was all right. This was bad.
Even when I'm critical of it, I've laughed. There's definitely been the stupid MJF stuff with fucking Big Show in the water and stuff, which I've panned from an intellectual point of view on here. But I've caught myself laughing, going, "Oh, that," because it's funny. There's nothing. This one just felt and the idea that Steph was pointing this out. So we're supposed to believe that Adam Cole has been living in Roderick Strong's house for a full week, yet we know in canon that Britt Baker and him are dating. So surely Britt Baker would be asking where the fuck he is, which might explain why she's not been on TV either. I'm giving it more thought than they are, to be honest. It's fucking daft.
But that's what they would do, Benno. They'd have at least Britt on the phone or cut away. They used to do stuff like that and tie up all them, mad loose ends.
Even then, do that. if you want to let it go, and they're clearly trying to get this fucking giraffe over, that'll be the next fucking thing. What was the joke? It just wasn't even the defenders. I think there's less and less of them. I think that the slowly but surely all jumping ship, because it's just the content of it's terrible now as well.
I was going to say, it's actually not about how they deliver it. In some ways, I'm kind of they're not bad. It's just the material is shit, and at best, it comes across as just weird. It's like okay, this is just really odd seeing Matt Taven choke a giraffe. like in slow-mo. It's really weird, and it feels completely fucking out of sync with like what the kind of product you want to bring on. It's just these weird vignettes, and it's
That's
done
the AWI signed up for.
it's like the kind of logic of this did well, so therefore we'll repeat it. We'll do it in quarter 2 or whatever. It's like it's done in such a methodical way. No one's gone, is this funny? And why are we doing this? Like, what is the fucking story we're trying to tell? Like you say, is as entertaining as Roderick's. Like, he shows that Roderick's song can deliver some comedy lines. It's just they're shit comedy lines, and you're not laughing at all. But there's part of me that does come out and say, this is pure like trying to get like your undercard over as well. Like, if you did this for undercard guys, if you had the time to bloody do it, then it might somehow weirdly be worthwhile, like seeing Satnam Singh on the Papa Briscoe's farm, which I just went, this is just fucking daft, and I'll laugh at it.
As a one-off, though, JP, that was a one-off.
As a one-off,
yeah.
And it's just like we're doing this instead, and it's like, what? Like, what story are we fucking telling here? Like, I'm completely like, I know it's like watching one of those. I'm trying to think. There was a really shit comedy that Hollywood made with a load of famous people in it, and you just watched it, and it was awful. And it's just watching good actors deliver terrible fucking lines. And you're like, why am I watching this? This is just they look like they know it should be fucking canned, and this stuff is shit. Get rid. Don't talk about the Tony Storm stuff either, because what the fuck was that about?
We were what? Because like I say, I was split screening through absolutely legal IPTV methods that ended up with USA Network on one side of my screen and TBS on the other. But like, we didn't even get it, like, because obviously I've seen the complaint from people on like watching on the fight feed going, I don't understand this Tony Storm thing, and apparently she was miming along with the adverts. We were watching the adverts and we didn't get it either. We were just like, what the fuck? I continue to be split on that. There's elements of it I really like. And then there's elements of it which I don't know if it's going to translate to in-ring wrestling, and also it's coming on a show that when we talk AEW's overall issues is very much filled with ha-ha and comedy already, when you've got so much of this MJF Adam Cole stuff over stuff. Tony Storm's just one extra thing that I don't think you need in that vein. It's like the individual stuff is usually good. This one though was also bad on top of that issue, I think.
And I thought the joke was that like she got a moment and it was in the advert, so like she got like shoved to the side kind of thing. I thought that was the joke on it because she's going on about having a time, but obviously it wasn't, was it? It was reenacting the advert. But I do like the character, JP. Maybe it is more for me than yourself, but yeah, we'll see how it goes forward. As I say, I prefer it to bland wrestler Tony Storm. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, so definitely here, but if you put it on NXT, you'd be like, yeah, okay, it'd be exactly what I'd expect them to do.
It is very NXT,
and it doesn't suggest that you're like an alternative if you're just doing the same thing, but in a slightly worse, like dare I say, a slightly worse way, because that's they're doing a lot of sports entertainment stuff. There's a lot of sports entertainment people around that bloody place as well.
On that note, do we touch the MJF thing, JP? Talked around it a couple of times. Like, obviously, we all know what the roller quarters references with Juice Robinson.
Yeah.
They do have the defense that Juice Robinson is someone who's used that because it's a wrestling staple. Obviously, they're leaning into the stuff from MJF's past. Obviously, for anybody who fucking watches the news or exists in the world, I think my point on it, JP, and again, there are people better placed than us to give opinion on this. So I would listen to Jewish people when they talk about this stuff. I'd hear out MJF when he's trying to say, he wants to tell this story in a responsible way. The problem is it's wrestling, and he spent the last 6 weeks of Dynamite doing cartwheels and ha-ha, so I don't 100% trust him either, to be honest, to tell a story like this with the nuance. I think it would need to be done effectively on a regular TV drama that wrestling isn't, for all the reasons wrestling it isn't. But I think even if you think, they can do this, it was MJF's obviously call to get Juice Robinson to say the line, and it's clearly born of his idea. Still, this week of all weeks, this is not the time, the world we're living in right now, JP, with everything going on in Israel and with Palestine. Like, this is not like leave at the very least pick another week. Like, I think this is one of them where MJF is probably coming from a good place with the idea, but this is where the lack of maybe editorial power within AEW, or the lack of somebody saying Max no, is probably going to come back to bite them, because this is all I've seen people talk about from the White and MJF stuff, and it's just, yeah, it's not something with real life events as they are that, you know, needed to happen this week. I think it was just unnecessary, whichever side of the fence you're on.
No, not in such an explicit way as well. Like, you don't need to necessarily do that. And we've had, like you said, the storyline of Juice Robinson using the roller quarters to beat people with a loaded punch. A thing that he was doing in Japan when he was in New Japan was that particular move. So, like, I kind of, but do you need to do it? Is it essential? What is the, like, and I think that's when they kind of overcomplicate things unnecessarily, that's a trend with MJF storylines, like you say, that they do end up being overcomplicated. You don't focus on fucking Jay White. It's an easy thing to do. You could then have Juice Robinson in that Dynamite, you know, win it and use like the kind of roller quarters, and then have the match with MJF where he tries to use it and he manages to block it, so he gets that kind of redemption. But I think you can easily do that story. I just think you're caught in controversy when you don't really need to, particularly this moment in time. I mean, and I don't expect it to be a situation regarding everything that's going on between Israel and Palestine. It's going to be sorted out anytime soon. So it just makes, as with most times with this kind of stuff, it just makes sense to just steer clear, because does it add anything to the angle and everything else? I would argue not.
No. Especially when it's a, you know, to borrow a phrase from our friend Rich Fan, it's a hat on a hat on a hat, isn't it? It's a feud that's already got 12 different elements going on. You know, Jay White doesn't know who attacked him. There's the Adam Cole friend thing going on. MJF, the belt has been stolen. Now there's this, you know, element to it that like doesn't really need to be there. It's just, it felt like one idea too many, which I think is the story of this MJF title run. Really, he's a man who's run unchecked, and you sometimes get gold, like I think the majority of the promo was, and then you get stuff like that where you probably needed an editor to take it out. I suppose the other big newsworthy, well, two other newsworthy things from AEW before we get to NXT. Saraya losing the women's title. I was legitimately on our Discord saying, can't believe she still got the title. And then I realized my feed was 30 seconds behind and she lost it. Which, great call, Tony. I agree. I probably would have. I understood why they put the belt on her at Wembley. Whatever I think of her and her family. You know, it was a Wembley show. She was the British star who was available. I get it. I kind of, you know, probably would have cut bait by now, because the problem was when she put the belt on her, we had to watch Saraya matches. But as far as Saraya matches go, I actually thought this one was, you know, not a worst effort. I think she either pulled us something worthwhile, and thought that was a solid little match. And I suppose we should talk the Jericho Hobbs match as well. Don't know if you got any big thoughts on them, JP.
I loved it. No, great. It was a squash. They already had 2 matches on there anyway, so it was like the most sensible thing to do. It just felt afterwards, what were we focusing on? We were focusing on Chris Jericho and his recovery from it. When in many ways I wanted them focusing on Powerhouse Hobb and smashed the shit out of like a guy who's considered a legend in wrestling. Like, that happens with each and every Jericho angle. I'm noticing that it always goes back to him, and it's just like, no, we don't need to know what Daniel Garcia and Matt Menard fucking think of the situation. Can we focus on the bloke who won? Like, crazy idea. Like, you know, that's the kind of.
And I'm not the Jericho defender, but he did lose pretty definitively here. Like, even for him,
he did. But he's still the focus of TV, and he can get that heat back kind of easily. That's the thing I don't like with it. It's like, it's those times when you see the jobs and you go, yeah, I can see what you're doing. But there's also the focus that you're going to need to get out of the fucking way if you want to be pushing the new bloke. So that's how I felt. Like,
any thoughts on that, Matty, or Saraya and Shida?
Yeah, it's like Khan just goes back to Shida, doesn't he? When, like, you know, there's some sort of like women's booking decision, he always puts the belt back on Shida, and hopefully she gets a
like Garrett Kidney always says. It's like TNA back in the day, you know. Jeff Jarrett gets the world title, AJ gets the X Division title, America's Most Wanted get the tag title. Anytime things are a bit off.
like Orange Cassidy as well, winning the international title on this winner as well, didn't he? Win that belt?
True.
It's like going back to him after like that big angle where I know injuries have come into that title the last couple of months, but you know we had that big run, and then he put Moxley over, who like nodded his hat to him and stuff, and now he's got it back again. So yeah, another reset.
I'm guessing that's just and the whole Moxley thing's weird. Like, why would you announce that he was going to be on the show if he wasn't cleared yet? I guess they were hoping, he was close enough and he passed the test on the day. Like, feels like, one of those early morning fitness tests like Saka last week that almost cost my FPL team. Like, okay, fine, Moxley failed on the day, fair enough, but like
worked out all right in the end, mate. So
I did, to be fair. Yeah, I made that. I took that 4-point hit today. It worked out all right for me. But yeah, I'm guessing you could just tell Rey Fenix wasn't supposed to be champion. Didn't really want him to be champion. Let's just get it back to Orange and again reset, like you said, Matt. It kind of ties in, doesn't it? He's your reset international champion. Maybe they were heading towards for Full Gear a Moxley Orange Cassidy rematch anyway, and this is just another way to get it. Because I would think Orange Cassidy probably needs to beat Moxley at some point if he's going to be the international champion going forward. Don't know. That would be my guess there. But yeah, that was another one. It was quite wasn't a really elongated effort, and Orange Cassidy went over relatively strongly there, which again kind of showed you that Phoenix was probably never meant to be champion in the first place, Chief.
Which is a shame, because I like the idea of Rey Fenix being kind of like a big single star. But I agree with you. It felt like if they had their way, Moxley would have been winning that match tonight, and then it would have been Orange Cassidy challenging him for the pay-per-view, which would have been the reverse. You can get to the match the same way. I'm just not sure the dynamic works if Orange Cassidy's champion again. Like you kind of need the moment of him beat the and new bit to kind of come out for that to work in like the big rematch where he gets his win over a proper top line star and things like that. And I think after all the good booking with the international title and the really great job they've done, to end up in this kind of like little switcheroo mode for like quite frankly quite bizarre reasons. It doesn't destroy it or anything like overreactive, but it doesn't help. Like I just sort of think that's the situation with it. The match itself will be good, but like you say, he'll have to beat him. And I was thinking about this at AEW. They're just in the process of they're trying to build a few people at the same time because it's something that they haven't actually done for a little while. And this is part of the process of it, is getting Orange Cassidy to that kind of proper drawing level by having him beat Moxley and whatnot. I'm not mad on the dynamic with him as champion. That's
and yeah, I suppose the only other thing to note is as Grapple Gareth goes on, he's on a Twitter storm right now doing a victory lap on Reg.
I can't wait to read. I know. Can I just say, I was going to say that we're not going to talk about Edge versus Kane. I mean, Luchasaurus versus Adam Copeland. We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, what is there to say, mate? It was.
You like Edge doing them running along the apron and the steps into spears? And
that was a cool spot. The spear on the outside.
A lot of that in AEW. You'll see a lot of this coming out, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's the thing. I think, Luchasaurus made logical sense as a first opponent. As much as we talk about the Copeland quarter hour, he was in there with Luchasaurus also, was the other thing.
Exactly.
Luchasaurus is a bit of a non-entity, isn't he? As you say, he's like, if Abyss was Budget Kane, what's Luchasaurus? It's not exactly
honestly, that theme when it starts, I think Kane's going to come out. I can't believe it.
He's not your, you talk about like what's the Edge in a fresh environment. Putting him in there with Luchasaurus didn't feel fresh to me. It felt like he was working Kane. It felt like he was working at a WWE match with a bit more creativity in there. Yeah, I didn't have much more to say on it really. It was a match, and yeah.
Christian's promo at the start though,
brilliant.
Hell.
Oh, it was fucking amazing stuff. JP, you can use every week, doesn't he, to just deliver every single
Beth
week.
Phoenix stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you were just going like, my
you lean hard into that, obviously, with being best mate. You will do a lot more of that, like, definitely.
Beth Copeland, she's coming soon, isn't she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't find that out until I was looking for the theme song for last week's Spotlight. She did the intro. You think you know him? That's her.
Is that Beth?
On the voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. There's a tie-in. Yeah. It doesn't continues to not really light my fire, but is it ever going to with Cope, as the commentators were calling him? They must have listened to last week's Spotlight as well. But yeah, It was a weird point where like I had the split screen on and like I had Undertaker on one channel and Luchasaurus hitting a choke slam on the other channel. It was just felt like music. Felt like to Edge.
Yeah.
Felt like 1998 all over again. On that note, we probably should talk some NXT, unless there is anything else from Dynamite. Oh, fucking Wardlow still exists.
I was going to say Michael Wardlow. We've got to talk about him.
With his like he looks like he's quiet quit. He looks like
he looks.
You know, he stopped. He's going the office still, but you know, his work shirts aren't as ironed as they used to be. He's grown out his beard. He's grown out his hair. You know, for Wardlow, I mean, he's in 10 times better shape than I'll ever be in my life. But he's not quite in peak Wardlow.
The tan's not there, Benno.
The tan's not there.
Yeah.
He looks like a man who's ready to jump on the other channel. Like, and poor Matt Sydal as well. I thought Jobber to the Stars was you know, for him, not a literally full-on jobber. It was Matt Sydal. Yeah. Wardlow. They could try again with Wardlow, but whether it's ever actually going to happen.
It's another reset, isn't it? Going back to what got him over, but
starting from scratch, basically, isn't it? Like all of that heat he had is gone. It's just gone, isn't it? Dissipated.
Always go back to it, and I know I beat this drum every time I'm on here. When he beat MJF, he was so over. Like, honest to God, you could have literally put him in the world title scene and no one would have battered an eyelid. And as you say there, all that has completely gone. There's nothing there anymore. And to sign in again, who knows if it'll last like, but do you think he's the next one to go?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you got it right. I can literally, there was a point where when he was out again, we had the split screen running, and Bron Breakker was on the other channel. It was like they look like they could be brothers. You know what I mean? Like he looks like the type who should be with the splash of you know, NXT bright lights and stuff. He should be over there, and maybe it'll work out better for him. But yeah, I don't see it. I think he's. You know, we had our opportunity, and I had my opportunity, because one of the finest things in podcasting is when you can take a victory lap. And I was so close. Matty, to one point saying, you know what? I think we're all being worked that Wardlow's good here. I think we're all just imagining Batista in our heads and thinking it's happening in front of us. And I wasn't brave enough to say it. I went along with the crowd. Oh, this Wardlow is great. This MJF feud's great. I could have been a trendsetter, because I think that has turned out to be the case there. There's something there with him, but
that's what I'm saying, though, Ben.
To the
you
level
could be right.
We kidded ourselves too during the height of the MJF stuff.
But in Tony, I can't believe I'm sticking up for Tony Khan. In Tony Khan's defense, then, if he's not that good, he got him to a point where, as you say, you did, or maybe you didn't. Everyone thought he was that good, and you could have went with him, though. So that's you know, giving props to Tony Khan there. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him. We'll see.
So I'm giving props to Tony Khan, fantastic tweeter, you know, having a go at Shawn Michaels. But he did do a tweet tonight, which hasn't aged well, when he said after last night, Shawn Michaels' candidacy for Book of the Year has gone up in smoke, or however he worded it. Yeah, I will say, we get to NXT. I'll let you go first, but tell me the good stuff, because I don't see it. I thought it was a weak show. I don't really you know, see anything on this show that was that even I don't understand how you can be a wrestling fan and prefer this show to what AEW gave, even with AEW's faults on this night. But it showed there's you know, still a market there for the speaking of Edge, you know, for the old lads, you know, get the dust off the Undertaker, dust off John Cena, you know, get them out there, and they can still draw almost 1 million. Go on, Matt. What was the positives of NXT?
Like I said before, I just thought the show flowed well, as in, like, it was fast paced. You didn't know what was coming next. It had all these little segments, these vignettes, people arriving, backstage stuff, little Easter eggs in there. I just thought that was the whole selling point of the show. Like AEW's, I know I've said, like, the 10, 11-star matches. That's their selling point. This is what I think.
Get your Matty bingo card out. 11-star matches.
No, I'm just saying. That's what it is, though. That is what it is. Like,
what's wrong with good matches?
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but obviously people prefer to see the stars, the vignettes, and the fast-paced stuff, don't they? They don't want to see the long pay-per-view matches every week.
Is that the lesson we're learning?
I think it's not shown.
The show at I keep saying the show at AEW was on a different night. Like
last week, it wasn't. Was
I don't agree with that.
I'm just saying, no. There's obviously better. We can go. That's another rabbit hole we can go down.
I mean,
long matches
in a different universe, if we had if we had the regular NXT versus the regular AEW, I'd have enjoyed seeing that and what it does. I just don't know if we can draw that lesson from it. That, as Chris Elliott says here, people want story, because I don't think what NXT provided was necessarily good from that point of view either.
No, but you say, this is where people might go, what the fuck are you talking about? But you're saying they loaded these up, but they did do stuff that you get on NXT every week, Benno. As I say, Dominic's the North American champion. He's been on there for 3-4 months now. But, well, that killed Jay White and fucking Hangman by 400,000, you said. So, you know, what are we going on here? That was a match, like, and to be fair to Shawn Michaels,
I mean, it was good.
It was the world champion with the NXT North American champion. So it was like 2 champions going at it.
Yeah.
That's all good for me.
No, I like both of those wrestlers. I'm only joking.
Yeah, you know, you can say what you want about Dominic and stuff, but he is improving and he's over with the fans. They fucking hate him.
And he's in the right place. He should be in NXT. He should be working these matches.
Exactly. And like stuff like that, I thought was sounding. You had obviously, you know, the Judgment Day running, LA Knight. You mentioned LA Knight, you know, the surprise throughout the night. You had Solo coming in the Carmelo match as well. And you had all these.
And they still didn't draw a million. It's crazy, isn't it?
Look at him now getting involved. Look. But it's like, I just thought, as I keep saying, what we all keep saying, the 2 completely different flavors of wrestling. You can't get any different, JP, I don't think, than the matches and the more, what you want to say, realistic style to this, like, sport entertainment, action-packed, like, quick matches kind of thing. And
that's wild way of saying bad.
No, man. I honestly, I had a great time watching it, and as I keep saying, it was for that. I didn't know what was coming up next. And honestly, first thing since I woke up this morning, JP, didn't even get out of bed because I've been off work sick. Put it on. First thing since when I woke up this morning, put NXT on, and I had a great time watching it. Was it the best wrestling show I've ever seen? No, but you know, I had a great time watching it. So,
I mean,
thoughts on it? Lola Vice versus Dani Palmer, JP.
I was going to say I skipped that match entirely.
That's the breakout.
I was rushing stuff in at that point, and choices
Charlotte
had
Flair
to be
didn't turn
made.
up or no one. They had 2 NXT, you know, who aren't even on NXT going in there, so they had a bit of everything. And they had a good video package, to be fair, with Becky Lynch going up against
Lyra Valkyria.
That was a good video package promoting their match in 2 weeks, and they had the stuff with Tegan Knox. So they're doing stuff. It's because I think it is we don't watch it every week, all of us here, so we can easily just casually go, it was shit this or
there's a reason.
No, but when you do break it down and what they do to the fans that do watch it, like I say, Trick and Carmelo, they're splitting up soon. You seen it in that backstage? I thought that was very good at doing it, because at the pay-per-view, you had Carmelo Hayes being the one who you thought was a bit jealous of Trick with the belt. Now you got Trick being the one jealous of Carmelo. I thought it was proper, easy, solid wrestling. You know, nothing wrong with it at all.
To be fair, Carmelo got to stand next to the Undertaker for 30 seconds.
And I said on Twitter,
I mean, you got to be jealous of
if anyone in the world had that on their, you know, things to see in 2023 card, they're lying, because the Undertaker helping Carmelo Hayes up and raising his hand and doing the arm pose. Wild. Just wild.
Should have bumped for him, shouldn't he? That'd have been better. You know, could have made a start.
You can't bump no more, Taker. Come on, Ben. You can't fucking take him.
He didn't look like he could walk, never mind bump.
I know, exactly. He couldn't do his pose.
I don't know. You anywhere near Matt on the show? I thought it was, like, obviously we're not going to agree, and I thought overall it was a weak show. I thought Asuka and Roxanne Perez was fine. Thought the other women's match just mentioned, Lola Vice and Dani Palmer, why I don't watch NXT. I did Ilya and Dominic, you know, I was given that grief before, but I do like both wrestlers, so thought that was fine. Outside of that, I didn't see anything on the show that made me think, I want to watch this next week. I didn't think, to be honest, Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes delivered for the occasion. I thought their match was pretty below average. There was nothing on the show that outside of the outside stars. And you know, we'll see what Undertaker, John Cena, LA Knight, and Cody Rhodes do next week on NXT. But outside of those lads, there was nobody that I'll be tuning into next week to watch.
Yeah, I'm probably more leaning closer to you, Benno. I'm honest. Sorry, Matty, on this. As nice as the impassioned
long-term NXT fan Matty's putting in a great defense here. The show
I do keep up with it though, Benno. I'm not saying I watch every minute every week, but I do keep up with it.
So where I stand with NXT is probably that they're 6 times a year shows. They're generally all right. They were bad for a bit because the people on them were bad.
They were, JP.
And this lot are okay. They're fine. what we're not, but this is very much modeled on Raw and SmackDown, and I find myself like I feel ill if I start watching those shows because, and it's formulated the kind of exactly the same way, just with people on it's great, but a crowd that is going to go mental for everything, which does help, just in terms of the watchability. They lose their shit over any little bits in there, but Bron Breakker, for example, he's just a fucking look, isn't he, at this point? And he's a name, and there's an idea of, we think, he could be really good. Yeah, he could be, but like, I don't know, it's not going to happen, is it?
He's a better heel, though. He's a
going back to the pre-show and Man U. Jordy Cruyff was no Johan, was he? Yeah. But yeah, he isn't, and you can put Paul Heyman with him. But what would his job be? Spoke about Wardlow in many ways. You just sort of think to yourself, just have him kill people, because when it comes to long, I've never seen him have a good match. Just haven't seen him have a good match. I don't think he's a good promo either, like at all.
It'd be Heyman as well. It's like when they put Heyman with Claudio, you know, it's like, wasn't it?
Yeah, people forget Heyman's had a few stinkers in there, like Curtis Axel and Cesaro.
Curtis Axel, yeah, throw that one in there. I will say I fucking hated like this idea that, like, I know it's wrestling. This idea Undertaker was sat backstage just waiting for Bron Breakker to say the word badass. like it's just shit though, innit? Like,
that's wrestling though. You're taking apart every fucking thing in history there, enough. Fucking hell.
Not a fan, but I'm
Can I mention three little things though? Like backstage, we had Jay Cargill, Benno, arriving. You like that, the way she's
I've enjoyed
presented?
that. I think that's I'd said it on the weekend show, so for patrons, but like for the main show, like I'll throw it out there. I think people are giving that a bad rap, saying they don't like it because, you know, Jay debuted on the pre-show, the pay-per-view we're going to talk about in about an hour and a half. I'm like, and, you know, appearing here, which
I was about that show.
It makes you feel a bigger name, Benno. I agree. It makes you feel more important. 100%.
If they'd have panicked and I thought this was going to happen and gone, fuck it, we need to beat AEW, we're going to fucking debut here tonight as well, like, that would have been a step too far. And the same goes for the pay-per-view. I like that, the fact they're making it like it's not a bidding war because they've already got it, but they're building it up, and people are forgetting she's not a big star. Not really. She's a look, and she's a hot story, and there's 100% star quality there, but she wasn't the biggest star in AEW. But they're pretending she was. That's the work. They're making that up. They're pretending they've signed this gigantic star, and to build that up, having to do these little backstage ones where she meets Triple H, then she meets Shawn Michaels, and they're putting stuff on the website and the Instagram. They're doing a cracking job of making her feel like when she does debut properly, she's going to be bigger than if they'd just thrown her out there in front of the
audience. Getting her ready behind the scenes, as you say, in the PC.
Exactly. At the same time, I would knock around the performance center, getting better at the things she was bad at AEW. I can't criticize them for what they're doing with her. I think it's great, and she continues to, you know, if the job was just looking like $1 million, like, she'd be the biggest star in wrestling history, because
$1 trillion
based on these 2 appearances, but more than that, like, crazy.
And what about Brian Pillman? Well, Lexus King, is it? What about that? What do you reckon on that one?
That was good. That was well done. Like, and as far as like, you want to hate it, don't you? You want to be immediately like, oh, the fucking idiots. That's the only thing he's got, the name. Maybe long term, that's still a fair critique. But I mean, the answer, this is the difference. We're going to get into, like, you know, Triple H kind of seemingly taking power in the TKO era. I think that's the difference between Vince and Triple H. Vince would never explain it. Austin Theory is just theory now. You know, people drop the first name, the last name, the gimmick, whatever. Triple H is more of like that, you know, Jim Cornette and OVW. Remember we talked about it, JP, with like the Boogeyman appeared on the main roster, so we had to scramble on OVW TV to explain what was going on with the Boogeyman. This is something that could easily, with less creative control, just happened. And like a Bron Breakker, it's just always called Bron Breakker now instead of Steiner. Like that could absolutely happen in a Vince McMahon universe. I like that he explained it. I thought he did a good job of explaining why he's not a Pillman anymore, and it's the best thing I've ever seen him do, to be honest. Like, I don't have much hope of him getting out of the WWE system or ever making it to Raw or SmackDown, but gave me a glimmer of something.
Bringing him in as a heel rather than an imitation of his dad, that's not a bad shout, is it? Like, at least that's something kind of different, and at least they bothered to explain. That's the main thing, and that was the issue with, like, the whole time you watch Bron Breakker and they talk about his dad and his uncle, and you're like, why doesn't he go by their name then? Why is he doing it this way? And it sounds stupid. It's a dumb name. I'm not mad on Lexus King either, if I'm honest with you, but at least there's been some kind of reason now for why he's doing that. And at some point, if it leads to him turning to Brian Pillman Jr., then in and of itself, it's fine. But it's probably it's a more interesting thing to be brought in as a heel than as the face character he always was in AEW, because it was just him doing his dad's moves, but worse at times. Like it really wasn't very good, because he's not the same kind of wrestler. And maybe they can bring something out of him. They've moved him pretty quickly onto NXT TV. It seems like they've got like at least some kind of plans, and the vignettes are sort of better produced, aren't they? So that's always the kind of thing that they've got going for it. But yeah, like you, I was expecting to hate this, and I was just like, oh, okay, at least they bothered explaining that. The beard is shocking.
Yeah, just the bottom of it. It's like Ben White, that JP, something like that. Isn't he? What do you have?
I was watching the What Culture podcast tonight, and they were saying it's like, you know, when you play like GTA or something like that, and you create your own character, and you mix and match like a beard and the haircut. like someone's beard goes over the mask or the face paint. It's like that. It's like different elements on the same face. It doesn't work. He needs to sort that out.
But can I also mention as well that maybe that little Easter egg of The Rock's daughter with Heyman? Now, I hope they do lean into that, but I hope that weren't just a little one-off type thing, and that maybe to keep The Rock sweet better for coming back maybe for the Roman match and stuff. But I did it makes me intrigued anyway to see if they will follow that up in the next coming months at least.
Yeah, her turning heel on her dad, joining the Bloodline faction.
Oh, incredible, that JP. Exactly.
Yeah, or it was an Easter egg that never goes anywhere and never gets paid off, like the majority of this NXT show. But we'll see.
Oh, here he is. Here he is.
The realist, yeah, that's me. Anything more in NXT before we, I suppose, move on to other WWE matters, Matt?
No, just that pub rules match. You know, your lads Gallus were in there, Benno, but that was fun for what it was, and you know, it was just a typical, WWE like.
That was proper. A fucking Sophie's choice. Gallus on one screen, Jericho on the other. I was like, I suppose I'll watch Jericho.
Go the shop,
I considered it, mate, honestly. I was like, what's on the third screen? Is MLW on? Is Cole Power going right now? You know, get him on the phone. Well, there we go. That was the.
As you say, we hope the happen again, Benno. That we hope there's another Tuesday Night War soon.
It was fucking great. I loved every minute of the build up to it. Tony Khan being a petty bitch on the internet, fucking great stuff. WWE, as much as this week was a load of NXT, I kind of begrudgingly liked it because it was like, well, it's their night, so they're gonna go all out, and yeah, the rising tide, rises all ships. I think if this was AEW's night going forward, or they were head to head every week, it would be exciting. I think at least for the first while. So. Yeah, Tony Khan's probably wishing that's not going to be the case going forward, though. But yeah, fun night there. Unless there's anything else on the Tuesday Night War. Yeah, I mean, while we're on WWE, on that Vince and Triple H thing, it's the Triple H era now, Matt. Everything's going to make sense and be logically booked. Might be a bit boring. Might be a bit too much Johnny Gargano. But,
yeah.
I said that in our work when we get QA'd, we get marked as competent, which sounds like an insult. That we were competent. But that's Triple H's book.
I had the compliments, isn't it? Yeah.
It is 100% competence. Like, it's not gonna light the world on fire most weeks, but we're going to patiently build to things, and we're going to at least have a follow through. It's the minimum standard, but it's better than the other alternative with WWE. I mean, I will say, as a WWE fan, Matt, I think a lot of people are saying it seems like it's been obvious. A few his old favourites being dusted off. Rumors of Karrion Kross getting back in the mix. Johnny Gargano being prominent on Raw.
Bronson Reed.
Yeah, the mid card belts. That's another calling card. The Triple H being anything could change. Tomorrow Vince could be back and completely rip up Raw and SmackDown again, or back to zero. But it's interesting that it sounds like from reports, TKO are back in Triple H as their point on in charge with WWE. And I think most people like yourself, Matty, who are more hardcore WWE fans, would absolutely back that.
Yeah, as you say, it's just like, even watching them Vince shows, looking back now, it's like, how many times did he literally just drop a storyline, a character, a name, and it was just like, what? But at least, like you're saying, Triple H will give it that reasoning, will give it that logic. But as you say, there is, as much as I look forward to it, and, you do get better matches for the most part, he's still got it. It's like every booker. They have the favourites, like your Garganos, your Carrying Crosses. You will get all this. And like most of them have been, since he's come in, I've been a home run, like Rhea, the Judgment Day, Dominic, they've been a success. Now, they have had a lot, maybe too many, like 6-mans and 8-mans and tag team matches over the last few months, but that is a success. And Raw, for me, is more of the, like SmackDown, with it only being 2 hours, you can kind of, and with the bloodline there, you can kind of like match that. But on Raw, you will get these, you know, some will say better for the longer matches. But as you say, sometimes it's just like, you know, they can drag a bit. So, but I am overall, I like the logic side of it. So I'm happy with that.
And when they deliver, like, you know, 5-star pay-per-views like they did this Saturday, who can argue, Matt? You know, cracker this weekend.
Well, can you use me lines? Let's don't forget this, right? Between AEW and WWE at the minute, you've got house show matches at sold out arenas versus 10-star matches with house show crowds. So it's like it's JP. It's completely the opposite. It's crazy because, you know, I come on here last time and said Payback wasn't the greatest pay-per-view. This, I've seen what you said, Ben, like on the Discord and stuff. For the most part, it was kind of like a house show. It was a sold-out arena, but the fans weren't really engaged like they have been when they've been in like Puerto Rico, or we've had these special pay-per-views this year. You know, I'll admit that there was that going on. But, you know, I do think people have been a bit harsh on it, and maybe it is because of the main event, because I'll be honest, boys, I zoned out in that main event. Like, it was a foregone conclusion. You've done the tried with Nakamura.
Yeah, it was 3.25 stars, mate.
Yeah, it was
never a foregone conclusion about it, wasn't
it? JP, 28 minutes as well, mate. I mean, it went on like
Nakadosa, no chance. Mate, he puts in no fucking work if he can get away with it. I used to love him at one point in time. And it's just like, I've never seen someone down tools more. I used to compare Roosh to Emmanuel Adebayor.
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura is Adebayor in fucking wherever he is now.
Big contract, JP.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, yep, I'll go there. I'm going to do nothing. Like, and I didn't watch the match. I heard the match timer. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, that's 28 minutes. I don't need to lose.
But I do think people have been a bit harsh. No, sorry. I think like the opener, the women's delivered in the ring. You know, your Cena match was, you know, that was a house show, but it still got like probably one of the bigger reactions of the night. And I thought Carlito's return was sound as well. So it did have plus points. I've seen people panning it so much. I was like, it wasn't that bad. You know.
I mean, the thing is, okay, it almost feels like they've fallen into quite a lazy pattern with the last couple of shows. And they've been on such a good run for them of actually having stuff that kind of delivered. And between Payback and this, they've been so kind of dull.
You do feel B-level compared to the rest. You definitely
feel like they're glorified house shows. It's just like we are watching like kind of house show loop stuff. And it was hard to get into. I'd agree with you on the women's match. It was good. I'd say it was, for me, it was like I thought it was the best thing on there. But I've seen a lot better, and it doesn't have the stakes of what it normally would have had. But I don't think they care, because they're just looking again at a company that's selling out arenas doing stuff like this automatically, which kind of says to the general momentum that WWE has as a company. And obviously they promote NXT, which is going to help NXT in all of this stuff. They're selling out these arenas. Like, I don't know why. I'd look at the card for this and go, absolutely not. Wouldn't go to that at all. Somehow it seems to be doing okay. Yeah, when you're hot, and they're just doing this. But you can't. I always think you can't rest on your laurels.
I was going to say that, JP. Even me as the WWE guy, they can't continue this. Like, even at this one wasn't as bad as Payback, I don't think. Like, I thought people had been harsh on this one, but I agree overall. Like, they had that such a good run. Even we didn't agree with that SummerSlam main event. Even I thought that was boring, Roman and Jay. But even up and including SummerSlam, they were on such a good run of pay-per-views that these two have dropped off. Now, as you say, Saudi and Survivor Series, I've got to bring it back up slightly, because if Saudi's another like house showy type, which I don't think it will be, because they usually put bigger matches on in Saudi, don't they? And then with Survivor Series being a War Games, that should deliver. So, you know, hopefully they can bring it back up.
Fingers crossed Roman turns up to work, you know.
He's back Friday, Benno. Everything's right now. He's back on Friday.
Yeah. Got a house show on Saturday. The numbers aren't doing great for that, but I noticed that hasn't been included in the rest of
going to dye his hair again then?
Strange, you know. Hey, I like that element of Heyman, you know. I like the fact that he looks like fucking shit because Roman's gone. Like, it's great. It's I noticed it like I was watching SmackDown a few weeks ago, and I was like, God, he's going grey, and he like not realizing, it's part of the work, it's part of like the story. I like that. It's a good element to it. But he can't go back sooner, where me and you know, we wildly disagree on a lot of elements of Roman. Where we both agree, Matty, is the product needs him, and it's better when he's there. And it's hotter when he's there. But overwhelmingly, this is they're enjoying the fruits of being a hot product this year for whatever reason. AEW, as you said earlier, I don't disagree, is nowhere near as hot as it was. And you know, WWE are kind of doing well now. But I get that this year, I 100%. Like, I loved pretty much all the pay-per-views until these last two, or at least from maybe loved as strong, but enjoyed, and they were WWE pay-per-views, and I was kind of enjoying the spectacle of them. Oh, this one's in Montreal. Oh, this one's, you know, in the UK. Oh, this one's WrestleMania. You know, there was always some kind of hook, but these last two have been rough. And I thought, to be honest, I was going to say this was worse than Payback. Can't tell you anything that happened to Payback, so I don't know if I can concretely tell you that statement. I don't remember a second of it.
It had Nakamura and Seth straight
up. That's why then.
This at least had the gimmick, but the last one was good. Judgment Day winning the tag off KO and Sammy at the last one in the street fight. Remember the hockey spot in that? KO and Sammy. Yeah, that was so then they've lost the belt at this, and that's a good. Maybe it might not be the best match in the world, but at least it was a story line. Cody's won his maybe not finishing the story he wants with the undisputed belt to JP, but at least he won some belts, and it ties in with Jay winning the tag with someone different. You can go down that route, which they're going to revisit the bloodline again. So I like that as a
we all predicted. The story ends with Jay Uso and Cody Rhodes winning the tag team titles. It's what what it was.
Can I mention the press conference though? I thought that was absolutely fucking hilarious. With Jey Uso pissed out of his mind, isn't he? He stole that. That was absolutely incredible. And Cody was bladdered as well, but he couldn't mask it. He's a professional. He could just answer so many. Pros pro. I fucking love that press conference.
For me, that was the only match that was worthy really of anyone's time. Like, watch the Jade debut, maybe see. I thought, to be honest, I thought Cody and Jey Uso against Sami and Kevin Owens from Raw was better. I watched that on. They got it on in full on the YouTube. But as far as something newsworthy, it's kind of that. Outside of that, I talked about
Carlito.
Really. I mean, he looked blown up, didn't he? Like, I mean, maybe we should have left the memories alone with Puerto Rico there.
He's back.
But it was weird that at first I was like, why is he not in the match? And then when it turned out, he got gassed just entering. Maybe that was a reason. I don't know.
What's he been
doing? I don't know.
He's been signed for months.
That's
another sign of Triple H.
Yeah. That's another sign Triple H has actually got power using him now.
Yeah,
it could be a short run, doing like a match with Ray and stuff like that, and Santos and stuff like that. But who knows how long he's going to be around for?
Yeah, what was his music? That was weird. They fucked up on Raw as well, didn't they? Had Sami Zayn come out to his old theme. I saw that. That was strange. Outside of that, three-way women's match was again 3-star effort. Cena and LA Knight against the Bloodline. If I was there live, and like you said, Matt, I was there at a house show, I'll be, loving Cena and LA Knight being the big baby faces, beating the the mid card heels and Solo and Jimmy Uso, but like
the main event heels.
Are they?
Hey, the build-up, no, I tell you, I said on the weekend show I did here, like Solo and Cena is rumored, and they're definitely going for that. That's either going to be Saudi or Survivor Series.
Do it at Rumble. Come on, go full Umaga. Let's go.
Well, that was the original. I did here, but they've hot shot it. Like they kind of tried to build it, but they've actually had physicality now on more physicality on NXT. So I think that's coming at one of these two pay-per-views. That one. So, but but the main event.
I watched the main. I mean, again, for my sins, Tuesday wasn't my only late night this week. We did stay up on Saturday and watch this pay-per-view. Massively regretted it once Seth Rollins and Nakamura hit the ring. And to be honest, it was probably better than I expected it to be, which means it was 3.3 stars, maybe rather than 3.25 stars. But it was every WWE last man standing match that you've ever seen. You could joked on the weekend show, close your eyes, imagine the match. That's the match you got, and that's it. Really, there's nothing else to talk about from the show other than obviously, your boy Dean McMahon showing up in the crowd. JP Shane's large son with the rest of his football team, basketball team. Don't know who they were. Shane was a proud dad at home. He retweeted photos of it. He's all grown now, JP.
Still up his fit. Well, get him in the fucking performance center. They missed a trick with Rod's kids before, didn't they? And their fucking tag team run that we never got as well. If you got a big lad in that family, get your ass down to fucking Florida. Get yourself in that performance center now, because there's money in those kind of angles and storylines. I'm sad to say I'm not exactly necessarily happy about it, but they should have certainly dressed them up like the Mean Street Posse, if nothing else, is the other lads in that football team. Like, that would have been
great.
Booking 101. We would have laughed, like, if that was the case.
But can I just mention, Chris as well mentioned there about Cena. That's right. He basically admitted, didn't he, that like when the actor strikes up, he's gone. So it could be any time. So
I appreciated that he was honest. Yeah. It was probably a highlight of that post presser. I was going to say just quickly on Dean McMahon, don't look at his Twitter like JP. He'll be very disappointed in the lad.
Oh right.
Terrible. He's a rich Republican's son. Who knew that he'd have problematic views?
I wouldn't be surprised. Is everything a conspiracy? Does it go down to that rabbit hole pretty quickly? I'm assuming
all of the talking heads you'd expect. Yeah,
he suffered that, lad. Man, he's really has. He's had a hard life now. Come on, we should lay off of that. I don't know why we're worried about WWE, because everything's going to be all right when CM Punk debuts.
I was about to make that exact comment.
Series.
So. I held off on this long to talk about CM Punk here, lads, as we have had some news over the last couple of days, as we were told that last week CM Punk is in talks with WWE, only for this week for Sean Ross Sapp to say CM Punk is not in talks with WWE and has never been in talks with WWE, only for Dave Meltzer today I think it was overnight on Wrestling Observer Radio, report that WWE have decided not to hire CM Punk, and this is based on whispers I've heard. Go to our Discord if you want to hear more. That I'm not confident enough to report as news, but I would back Dave's version of the story here, that it's like Meltzer said, JP, like if you really think that there wasn't at least a conversation, that there isn't at least a consideration to bringing in Punk, and even if that consideration is fuck no, the conversation took place. Like, I've got every confidence it absolutely did. But yeah, the latest headline we've got on it from Meltzer is that the quote is, they turned him down. The decision was a no. He wanted to go there, and the decision was a no. I mean, it can always change, and it was brought up to me that no such thing as no forever when it comes to the WWE, but it's no for now. I don't know if this is a direct report, but Dave says it's Vince's decision. Vince, Nick Khan, and Paul Levesque, and obviously they decided that the negatives outweighed the positives. I think that's more Meltzer conjecture than it is him reporting that as fact. Do you buy it? Am I too much of a CM Punk truther to get to the heart of this matter? Because I still think it's at work and he's coming in. I'm turning into Gareth here. Everything's at work, and Punk is going to debut at the Survivor Series still. You can't prove otherwise to me. Am I sounding like a crazed CM Punk fanboy, JP? Or do you think? I mean, to be fair, it would be the smart decision in a lot of ways to be like, probably not worth the trouble. And if that story is true and it's not, some kind of, trying to keep the story quiet situation, kind of embarrassing for Punk. Like Meltzer actually added as well that apparently there was overtures from Fox trying to get Punk in when he was back doing that talk show with Ryan Satin and all that lot. Then there was overtures apparently from Punk during the time he was injured at AEW to get into WWE, and they were not interested. And now apparently this is the third attempt to get in, and WWE are saying no again. Where does the truth lie, JP? What you think on this one?
So I think he will end up there. I just don't think it'll be at Survivor Series, at this point. That's what I kind of think with this. But I think at some point he will end up there. I think enough time goes by and they think, do you know what? We can get some use and some kind of value out of him. But I think at the moment, as we've kind of said, they're on they've been on an upward trajectory for 2023 for the most part, just in terms of business and creative. Them. It's as good as it's been for the last sort of few years. That's damning with faint praise, in case anyone's not quite getting that. So I think for them, it's like, why bring him in? And Roman doesn't like him. I think that's the key thing here is that
Roman's mates don't like him.
No, and it's the sway that kind of carries. Like, he didn't want him in the Shield, did he? That was
purely
the thing about
Chris Hero.
Chris Hero. Oh, what a world we live in now,
mate.
Chris Hero, the tribal chief.
I want to live in that world. Sounds great.
I want to see that fucking storyline. I won't lie. I'll be all over that shit. That sounds wild. Him as tribal chief. I can get on board with that as well. But I think that's the issue. I think there is a value in bringing him in if you're going to bring him in kind of short term. But he'd have to absolutely be playing fucking ball, and he couldn't be Dickhead Phil. Which, let's face it, it doesn't take much for Dickhead Phil to come out. Like, it really doesn't. And he'll remember he's working within that system. It's where do I think I actually think he'll end up in New Japan, weirdly. I could see that happening kind of before WWE. I wouldn't be amazed to see him at the Dome. I'm just putting that out there for shits and giggles as much as anything else. Because that could easily be to prove that he can actually play well with others. I think there's an element of perhaps of his own reputation rehab that he might need to think of if he wants to get back into wrestling. It's like, hang on, maybe, just maybe, I shouldn't act like a prick for a bit. I should maybe behave myself. Just sort of throwing that out there. I want to believe this is part of some massive elaborate work, but this is not the way they've been doing business for a while. And they'll probably have looked at those ratings and thought, it's not that much of a difference maker. Why would we pay it? Why would we get the grief with our own kind of core locker room, which has pretty much got itself in charge, and be much happier that there's no fucking Vince McMahon running around the place as well. So yeah, to link it back, I know I was going to make a bad joke there, but I'm actually going to think twice on that, which is a good thing. So yeah, I think he is like they've got things steady there at the moment. Why bring him in to fucking upset the apple cart?
Yeah, and I can absolutely, as a Punk fan, have I ever wanted, do I want to see him in WWE? No, of course, I want to see him in AEW. Like, that was the right place for him, and for a lot of reasons, and then turned out to be the wrong place for a lot of other reasons. I'm not getting that. So, as a Punk fan, would I like to see him in WWE? As we said on the weekend show, Matt, I'd enjoy the on-screen content, maybe less than I'd enjoy the fucking shit show that'd be backstage. But if they're wise to that and know that's what comes with Punk, I can't actually argue strongly that it's not. Those negatives don't weigh, at least in a similar value to the positives that come with the, bringing Punk in, and the jolt that might give a Survivor Series, or like the merch that might get shifted, and the minor difference he might make to some numbers here and there. I don't know. I just don't think it'd be a real shame if this is how it holds, and Punk, the indie hero, made it to WWE and then crashed out, got a second chance with AEW, and then crashed out of there. That's not how he wants the story to end. Like, and it would be a sad place for it to end. WWE don't want you back. Tony Khan doesn't want you back on AEW, and you're just done. I mean, I'd take a Japan run. I'd take a New Japan run.
Impact, Benno, no? Would he not do nothing like that?
I doubt it. It seems like from everything you hear from the quote-unquote Punk camp, he's still in shape. He's getting in better ring shape, and he wants to wrestle again, which again adds to my conspiracy theory that there's a part of me that still thinks he'll land in WWE. But if not, I don't know what the answer is. Another run in UFC? Probably not. Another
he's got the commentary gig though, and he's all right with that.
Yeah, he'll do commentary and stuff. I just
low level commentary. Yeah. It's not like it's PFL.
No, there's that. But I think Prideful Man who doesn't want to walk away and leave things as they are. He did walk away once. He did. 6 months after he left WWE, we were still talking about it, going, oh, maybe he's going to come back. Oh, the Rumble, Mania's coming up, and then SummerSlam's coming up, and then the Rumble's coming up. Oh, surely, everyone mends fences. Look at the Ultimate Warrior, all of this. And then it never happened. It would also be very, very CM Punk for it not to happen. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I am. I want it to happen, but maybe that's just the Punk fan.
But as Will's saying, Benno, do you think that's not an option, that he could actually come back to AEW? Is that way off the table?
It feels impossible now.
Yeah.
3 years, and they're doing if 600,000 becomes a normal rating, then we might have.
If them 2,000 Dynamites in the arena turn to 1,000, you might get the call, Benno. He might get the call.
Maybe. If they don't put these negative patterns right, could be an issue there, definitely. So yeah, there you go. That's where we are on the CM Punk story. See, I promised I wouldn't go an hour and 45 on Punk again.
Yeah.
There'll be another headline by the time we do the next weekend show, next spotlight, next month, next week. He will constantly be in the center of the news cycle. But yeah, unless there's anything more on that, lads. I suppose actually when we moved on from AEW before, we didn't. I mean, is there anything to cover from? Is there anything other AEW you wanted to speak about, JP, from Collision Rampage at the weekend before we talk some New Japan?
I was just surprised at the tag title change on Collision, to be honest with you.
It was well done.
Like, it was well done. And Big Bill and Ricky Starks, absolutely fine by me. I haven't got an issue with that. Like, in terms of the sanctity of the tag division, where and it was a squash. But this one kind of felt like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Whether or not this is like, a sign to them saying, no, Ricky, honestly, we are going to do some interesting stuff with you. But I liked it. Like, so I'm intrigued by it, what they're going to do with it. I don't need to see them necessarily wrestle each and every week, but if it means they're going to be a featured part of the show, again, this is part of their growing people bit. And like, we've mentioned several names of people they want to be top line stars that are involved in interesting stuff. You can put Ricky Starks and Big Bill into that category as well, along with your Swerve Stricklands and Jay Whites that they're doing at least things with, So I think, I was happy to say, because I wasn't expecting it. I was wondering myself, am I going to really end up seeing Collision this week? Am I going to end up talking about it? Is there anything I need to see? And I saw new tag title champs. I was like, what the fuck happened there? And then sort of put it on. It was like, all right, 5 minute squash. Which one's injured? And it's like, okay, it's.
I think a lot of people thought they were leaving, and then more people thought, is Cash going to prison? What's going on here? But it turns out to be a legit injury. If you were going to do it, that's the way to do it, and just Dax take most of the offense. And the way they did it, with the table spots and all of that stuff, made it feel like really violent and dramatic. And yeah, Ricky Starks is one of those hot acts in AEW right now that you've got to have the patience with to kind of see through if we are in something of a rebuilding phase. Thought that was strong, and I thought obviously it's Bryan Danielson. He's always going to be great. Cracker from him on Collision as well. Less said about Rampage. The Rampage and Collision ratings, the better. But I did think actually Collision was a solid show this week.
I noticed as well that on NXT they were plugging the college football that's on NBC at the same time as Collision next week. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Like, it's all coming up roses. It all came up roses for them that week, innit? They'll be fucking dining out on this episode of NXT for a fucking good long while. Several targets being hit there.
Did you see there's we've got Collision, we've got Rampage, we've got Dynamite, Battle of the Belts. Weekend after next, just to add to it, we haven't got enough AEW content. We're not all just being pulled in 27 different directions. Felt bad for poor guy. I think he might be down to 14 hours worth of AEW content. He's if you're wondering why he didn't make the show tonight, that's why. We'll get Gavin.
Didn't he say he's only on Edge's debut? He's only just seen Edge turn up.
He had in WWE 2 years ago when he returned. That's what he's up to. Feel bad, but at some point we'll get him caught up so he can join us for the next big AEW show. But unless there's anything else there on the AEW front, JP, you want to talk some New Japan? Did you suffer through the Ryogoku show before we talk this Copperbox lineup for the weekend?
Bits. There are bits on moral principle that I was never going to watch, like a night. What was it? A Sonata versus Evil lumberjack match. I just went, no, that's not happening. Don't need to see it. I sort of generally thought of as being shit as much as anything else. I was like, yeah, I don't need to see this as well. The stuff that I watched Dan Maloney in the junior tag match, which is looking all right, but it was unfortunate. Kushida was involved, so I was very close to nodding off as well during that. I was more, and I never thought I'd hear myself say this, I was more interested in the trios match between Tanahashi, Okada, and Tomohiro Ishii versus Team Impact, just for the fact it was Josh Alexander and New Japan, which does feel like, okay, it's getting him used to being in that environment suggests that they're going to be bringing him in. And that's like a cracking shout as a fresh face who can deliver what they want and needs to go to a bigger stage. He's done everything he can do in Impact. It's been cracking for him. But this is a much better step where I don't think he'd be lost in the shuffle. And it would really help him in terms of the type of wrestler that he is. It just feels like a really good fit. And the match itself was fun. Shelley and Sabin were well up for this as well, and they work well with Okada. They're good friends with him. So, like, it was one of these things where actually the Motor City Machine Guns looked more interesting in this environment. That would appear to be the match of the night. Again, Tama Tonga versus David Finlay. No, not going to happen. Don't need to see it. Much more interesting what the Royal Quest card is. I'm going to be honest. That feels like much more interesting stuff than this card.
Is this the first rest before we get to Royal Quest? I mean, the biggest story coming out of the Rigo show, the Wrestle Kingdom main event, like Naito Sonata. Like, I've never since we've been fully covering New Japan, or since pretty much since the boom. Like, what? How long since? Like, just after Devitt left, I think we've been having chats about New Japan. Like, I would never. Wrestle Kingdom is one of my favorite days of the year. Like, I absolutely love getting up that morning watching the show. Like, I know we're probably not representative, as we always say, JP. There's a Naito fandom out there that I will never understand, but still love him. Haven't got bored of his shtick, and might have more tolerance for Sonata than we do. But like, Sonata and Evil absolutely was a massive skip for me this weekend. There wasn't a chance I was watching that. I don't quite feel as strongly about Sonata versus Naito, but see LIJ complete their story. Like, I might just go to where. You know what I mean? Might be the first Wrestle Kingdom I watched live in like a decade. Like, I'm just not for me.
I think the 3 matches before it will be absolute fucking belters. And then we're getting this.
Of course, that's fair. It's still Wrestle Kingdom in it. It's still Wrestle Kingdom. I can go to work then. I'll just work the afternoon. I'll take the morning off. Won't bother with a full day.
There are there's the storyline LIJ law. There's the fact that Naito, even in this broken down state that he's in, he's a big enough star. Am I enthused by it? No, it's not aimed at me. But they're normally stuff that isn't aimed at me and I'm not interested in. I tend not to watch, if I'm truthful. So, but it feels like being on a wrestling podcast, I'm duty bound to watch this as the Wrestle Kingdom main event. Can't pretend I'm looking forward to it. I've no interest. I'm speaking just for me. I've no interest in where this LIJ stuff goes there. Naito confronts him. This is always what happens at this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, we're at that point. We're in mid-October now. We need to have that main event up on there. I'm just hoping the other stuff underneath is like, all right, we will put some good stuff on Honest. And that's where you get Danielson versus Okada. Like I say, I'm going to throw it out there with no evidence to back this up whatsoever. You stick CM Punk
Omega makes the
match for shits and giggles. Yeah, Omega Ospreay 3. And you put that
Omega Punk
on London.
Let's do that at Wrestle
Omega Punk, do it in New Japan. That'd be hilarious.
No Young Bucks in play.
Yeah, they're not allowed in the building, and they talk Kenny round, and he go, "Come on, mate, you know it makes sense. Remember the good old days when you were fucking hot as fuck over here? You know, yeah." Somehow press gang him into having a match with CM Punk on the day, but
give me ideas.
I can't be excited by this main event. Other people will be. If it does a good attendance, they'll say it's entirely because of LIJ law and the rest of it, and I can't be bothered with the argument. Because I simply don't care enough, which is probably my overall problem with Sonata as champion, is I don't give a shit at this point. It had a novelty value. That went very, very quickly. He's just a bloke. He's always going to be a very, very good-looking bloke, but he's just a bloke. He's not even a guy, for God's sake, in that fucking stable, which I look at the joke there and I just go, it is kind of like a much worse version of when Homer called that band the B-Sharps. As a joke that starts off gently amusing and just gets worse over time. Great episode. One has as well. And I got Yuya Uemura in there, so they're bringing all the young lads of that generation back. Yeah, he's back. He's all right. He's been teaming with Joe Hendry and Impact, which, I don't think he's another Yota Tsuji. And to go on to the Naito stuff, I'll still throw it out there. Yota Tsuji beats him the month after he wins that fucking title, the first show, and you just go, right, we're all in on this bloke instead. He takes over LIJ, says, yeah, we're fucking off, you old boring lads. Evil looks at him, he just goes, no, you get nowhere close to this title, and that's the only interaction they ever have in Yota Tsuji's run as champion in that company. That's a New Japan that I kind of want to see, because this feels stuck still in what is their golden boom period, and it's stuff really towards the tail end of that boom period as well. So yeah, can we just end this storyline? Yes, I know it's story, but can we just fucking end it?
Well, on that note,
Right.
I'm excited to go to the Copperbox on Saturday Night GP. I think I'm the only one of us returning to the Copperbox. I will say it's definitely been, I don't know, it's been lukewarm. I think whenever I speak to anybody in any of our group chats or anybody on our Discord or our patrons, like just in general, everyone's like, maybe it's a bit soon, after the Big Red Pro Copperbox card, and we all spent a lot of money, didn't we, that weekend? So I understand why this has maybe not been the hot ticket. I think it's it could have been in another part of the year. It'd be very interesting what the attendance works out to be there. But I will be there on Saturday for me sins. And yeah, as far as the card goes, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think the problem is just where we are with New Japan right now. And putting together like an exciting card is actually a harder task than it seems when you actually look at the black and white pieces that they're pushing at the moment. At least as far as like the push stacks and the hot things that are going on in the company. But there's a few things I do want to see here as well. But I can understand why. I think the way people waiting to see the cards come out, and yeah, I think there's been a few, I think, who've maybe just decided not to make the trip, and the card hasn't swayed them. But I'll run through the full lineup just as a note as well. If anyone missed the pre-show on the Patreon side, we're not doing a weekend show this week with Spotlight being so late in the week and other recording commitments over the weekend. So we'll run through the card here on Spotlight. And yeah, from the top, JP, we have Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. is on the card. Tomohiro Ishii versus Shingo. So that's your big double main event. And I think that definitely sold some tickets just based on the strength of those matches. That is the spotlight is shared by those two big matches there. And then when it gets to the undercard itself, there's a bit of a mixed bag really as far as the stuff that's on there. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi, Eddie Kingston, and Michael Oku against TJP, Jeff Cobb, and Hanare. We have Sanada and Dookie versus Bushi and Tetsuya Naito as a preview of Wrestle Kingdom. That was that was one that was set up this week. Ren Narita and Shota Umino taking on Francesco Akira and Great Khan has been added to the card as well. El Fantasmo, Tama Tonga, and Tangaloa taking on Alex Coughlin, David Finlay, and Gabriel Kidd is on the undercard. Good opportunity for some good young wrestlers here, and Cameron Kai and Leon Slater teaming up against Clark Connors and Driller. Dan Maloney is on the card. Dan Maloney being one of Matty's favorites. Yota Tsuji versus Luke Jacobs, which was one that I think almost convinced Grapple Garrett to make the trip a little while ago. I think that one's been a little bit forgotten, maybe in the build-up.
He's not walking down.
I know. If you're a British wrestling fan, you're trying to appeal to people who are still engaged in the scene. Luke Jacobs getting a match with Yota Tsuji, like, I don't think it comes much better than that. For Matty, El Desperado versus Trent Sevens on the card. Surprised you're not walking down there with Garrett.
Action,
I mean, you'd get him to drive, obviously.
Of course.
Newcastle in a little while, but you go. And Robbie X versus Taiji Ishimori rounds out the card, which I think
is a good match.
Great little spot for Robbie X on this podcast. We're high on Robbie X, like we said. The CMLL shows that Rev Pro had a couple of weeks ago. Robbie X was the talk of those from the reports that I saw from Ben Britt Reserway days and the Ogdens and others. Good to see him getting a nice spot on the card. Like I say, I've seen some critical of it. I'm a little bit mixed on the New Japan matches themselves, outside of obviously the big two, JP. But I think Robbie X getting a good spot there. Nice to see, Leon Slater in there in the mix. There's some fun stuff there. I'm quietly excited for Saturday night. It just snuck up on me a little bit.
I think it looks like a fun card, and I think the fact that in those top two matches, you're going to get good matches. They're not going to be bad matches, particularly Ospreay Zack they're going to be going all out to do something really, really good. And then you're hoping that the kind of the goodwill, I suppose, will come still from All In and All In Weekend is there as well. So they do get a good do get a good crowd for this, because it's a good thing that New Japan coming over and running these kind of shows. It's big for Rev Pro because it's on Rev Pro on demand live. So it's like a big kind of weekend for them. And like you say, the stuff with the younger British wrestlers generally, I know Trent Seven excluded, I'm intrigued by. What else are you going to do with the junior tag belts? It's going to be interesting. Well, you might as well have them face a challenging team in there as well. Luke Jacobs had beaten Yota Tsuji in Rev Pro, so I think the idea that like Yota Tsuji gets like a return win, but he's a very different kettle of fish, I think that's absolutely fine. You know, Robbie X, Taiji Ishimori, if this can lead to, I don't know, Robbie X and Michael Oku teaming in the tag league or whatever, like that'd be like a brilliant kind of reward. There's a lot worse people they could bloody well bring in there, couldn't they, to do something like that? And he's earned it because he has been like for a very, very long time the kind of staple of Rev Pro. And on these cards, I think you can do the thing of having a few. You can't do it with every match, but on the undercard, by putting in younger British wrestlers in there, just to give it kind of more of that kind of hometown feel and letting people know out there as well. And they've been doing that storyline with Leon Slater and Dan Maloney for a little while, haven't they? So, you know, they've managed to tie it into him getting a shot for this. It's, you know, it's a good shop window of which like they've earned. And I know we're not in the business of saying like, you know, we want to see wrestlers always necessarily doing brilliantly. It's like, okay, get there on your own merits. But a lot of these guys are on the card kind of because of their own merits as well. Just when it gets to those New Japan kind of mixed tags and stuff, I'm much more ambivalent in, other than the novelty of Oku in a very high profile position when you think about it in terms of the people he's in there with. And we've wondered for a long time, why haven't they brought him in? This seems like someone that, you know, would add something different, particularly within like the junior division. He's kind of earning, you know, I'm happy. I'll be interested to see how he kind of gets on. Like that'll be a thing of like kind of real interest. Will I be watching it? Absolutely. I'll find time to watch this so we can review it, because I think it's definitely worthy of that.
It's a weird show. It's somewhere like that. I note what Dylan's saying here, that, you know, there's a lot of New Japan debuts and it feels like those Milton Keynes Manchester shows. You know, you go back to them, you know, those shows, and, you know, there was a lot of discussion over that where, like, I think, you know, I always use, like, you weren't, I doubt you were listening to us at the time, Max. We were very much a British wrestling podcast way back when. But, you know, when we went to Altrincham a bit, and went to those the Ice Arena shows. Like, the big conversation between our group of mates, like Crewy and Gary and that, they weren't happy with those cards because they felt more Rev Pro than New Japan. And to their credit, they were, you know, they bought tickets to see New Japan. And I think, you know, it's not even a secret, it's an open secret. Rev Pro promote these shows, you know, they are Rev Pro are the promoters of this New Japan show, and the first Copperbox show, they did a far better job than those Ice Arena shows at making it feel like the New Japan presentation, where I was, you know, very jealous of JP and everybody else who made it out to those ones. The last, you know, shows they did in when they were in Crystal Palace, like that one felt a little bit more of a step towards it being more of a joint Rev Pro New Japan show. And this one, to Dylan's point, to me feels like this could be like, if this was a Rev Pro show, it would be the best Rev Pro show ever as a New Japan show. And it's more to do with my interest in New Japan right now. Like you said, JP, the New Japan elements I'm not really into. But if I was treating this like this was a follow-up extra Copperbox show for Rev Pro with Ospreay versus Zack in the main event and an offer match of Ishii and Shingo, and oh my god, up and down this card, I'm getting to see, you know, some of the actual genuine still hopes of Brit-Res, like Luke Jacobs in a prime position with Yota Tsuji and Robbie X in a position with Taiji Ishimori. It's been massively over-delivering, I think, for that money. The question is, does it play that line as a pure New Japan show? But like you said, JP, when the answer is, I'm actually much more interested in the British lads against the New Japan lads than I am actually in seeing the pure New Japan stuff. You know, maybe they have drawn the line at the right place.
They have. It's a very different world from that first Copperbox show, where they were still riding the waves of being a hot product. And it did feel like, because you had an IWGP title match in the main event. Now, I don't think you can get away with that with just the person with Okada. Yep, you can absolutely get away with that. You just can't get away with it with Sonada, and that's one of the kind of like slight issues. But if you think you're going like if you're trying to draw it, it's a test of Will Ospreay's drawing power in a more
apparently 70% sold. Dylan says here that surprises me based on the ticket maps. I've genuinely not no information on that. I hadn't heard that. That's stronger than I thought. Shows the New Japan brand still worth something over here, massively.
I think
like,
it is.
Even if we're cold on the product.
I think the Will Ospreay brand as well. Like you have to say as well with the all-in publicity and things like that as well, and the kind of him getting himself out there. I think that plays like a big part into this as well. At the same time, I think he looks like a good card. I'd be more like I do see Will's point now. Is there anything like I've seen Ospreay Zach before? Is there anything that makes me think I have to be there to see this? Like
Shingo Ishino.
This Shingo working at half speed, like dare I say it, as what we saw at the kind of Copperbox. I think he's just nursing a lot of injuries, hence him not being pushed as highly up the card. Like that does make me wonder, like what kind of are they going to be doing the match that they can do without having to kind of kill each other? But it's not the kind of match we want to see. If it was like a G1 match with stakes at it, you know they'd both be going hell for leather. But that's not what we're getting. But I think it'll be very good. Much like
those lads can take nights off, do they? You know,
yeah.
We saw it with Shingo Ospreay at the Rev Pro show, like and Ishii every time he's here. Of course, they're gonna go out there and try and have one of Matty's fabled 11-star matches, or is it 10? I forget what the number is these days. That's gonna end up being the title. It's not Mattynomics. 10-star matches. It's gonna be the one. I mean, Will says here, you know, he was saying that like maybe I'm forgetting how deep some of the Rev Pro shows used to be. You know, in the last pre-pandemic show. I think this is stronger than that. Ospreay, Sabre, LP Oku, Jeff Cobb, Dan Maloney, Eddie Kingston, LA Park was on that last Rev Pro show. We were all at the peak of the relationship. I don't know. I'm more into what they've got here, but yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, Ospreay, Zack Sabre can't help but be good. Ishii Shingo will be great. Some tags there where you get to see some of the New Japan talent. Cool.
No, a card though.
No, that's a surprise. And as you know, Dylan says we only got the card on Monday, so there were probably people who bought tickets kind of thinking, well, we didn't get a card of Tanahashi at Rev Pro, so maybe that means they're saving them for this. And you know, it hasn't come to fruition, but hopefully there's enough there for those people. Like I say, going down that list, Tsuji, Luke Jacobs, and Robbie X, Taiji Ishimori, top of my list of things I'm excited to see. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night on Saturday. If you spot us down there, do pop over and say hello. And yeah, I'll just add you guys aren't there. Be back in that what's it called, Grow, that vegan place that you use
brilliant
up that end. And what's the area called again, JP? Hackney Wick. Lovely around there. No, honestly, half the reason I'm going in my head, I think I'm picturing it's gonna be like AEW weekend, and I'm gonna get there, and the Ogdens will be there. Like, hopefully Joe's coming, so I might see Joe, and you know, me and Steph are going to be there, but like, I'm going to.
It's a Saturday night in London, Benno. It should be
good fun.
I just want to come back for some more, you know. But I love that area. And I love
venue.
Oh, brilliant area.
It's a sell on its own. Now that I've been, I'm like, yeah, that's a venue I want to see more wrestling at. So, like, let's hope it does do well. You know, we get to see more of it. And if anyone's on the fence, maybe pop down, come say hello. And I don't think the cheap seats are too expensive. But yeah, on that note, I think that covers the New Japan stuff. Is there anything else you want to mention, JP, before we do get fully out of here?
One last thing, and I think we've all seen it, and I think, you know, I didn't watch the Stardom main event, which again, I'm sure it was fine. I do want to talk about this Iron Claw trailer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I think it's something that I don't know. Like, I think I was really, really, really excited for this because obviously it's a dramatization of the Von Erichs family story. And you're thinking it's got a proper director, it's got proper stars in it, proper young stars in there, and a very good supporting cast. And I was a bit worried about it because I'd read a test screening review where someone was incredibly critical about it, and I was a bit like, oh no, is this going to turn out to be a disappointment? Watch the trailer today. I have to say, just going on the strength of the trailer, I'm gonna go and see it anyway. But it's the kind of stuff where if you think of the time of year that they're releasing it, A24, so December 22nd, so it's before the getting it in for Oscars kind of contention. It feels like it's set up for like kind of something's trying to win awards, which would be interesting in and of itself. The bits of like the Sportatorium, I think it was
Looks
pointed out
brilliant, JP.
early on in the guy's playing Terry Gordy looks great. The guy looks like Ric Flair, looks nothing fucking like him. But it does look like they've kind of nailed like a lot of the kind of general wrestling scenes down. Now, hopefully for video viewers here, you can see part of the trailer.
Can they copyright us for a trailer? I think not. I think we're safe.
I'm terrified these days.
I was going to say, Benno, what you play with fire here?
Excuse on it. Worst comes to the worst. We can put a picture over the top of it on there. Jeremy Allen White, who's in the Behr, isn't necessarily big enough to play Kerry Von Erich, but he's so fucking good in the Behr that I'm willing to kind of go, yeah, I'm happy to suspend disbelief. And Zac Efron is an actor who I've always thought, even during High School Musical, the thing that we all forget, like, it's not aimed at me. He can fucking sing, he can dance, and he can act, and that is hard to do. He's just never been given a big star like kind of role. And this is one where he's got a star role. And the fact that also, and I shouldn't say this is a selling point, Kevin Von Erich said he's got nothing to do with it. I went, good. Does that mean there'll be no bullshit? And we'll start saying stuff like David Von Erich died of a drug overdose in Japan without having to make up some mystery fucking gastroenteritis reason as they've done in the past.
Is David the baby one? The young? No, that's Chris, isn't it? Because Chris isn't in
Chris.
it. He doesn't look like he's in it based on like the. Am I missing it? He's not been cast at all. Are they leaving him out? I don't know. It's hard to tell from the trailer.
Seems a weird choice, isn't it? Because it is, yeah. Mike is the one who had like went into anaphylactic shock and then like came back and he killed himself. Then Kerry, then Chris, and this is all after David's death as well. Like, yeah, it's how true are they going to go with the story? How dark are they going to go with the story? But from the quality of, in terms of how it looks and how it's acted and how like I say again, the sportatorium, how that looks. For those of you who've seen
World up, JP, when I seen that, my eyes lit right up when I seen that. I was so fucking happy.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it looks like, you watch like a film, like but you watch a film like set in this period, like a 70s, 80s film with like these types of lads, and you kind of think like, like imagine if like a wrestling film was done this well. Imagine if our stupid niche that we all follow was given that like the love that like other period pieces in places and times like this across other sports and across other industries, music, biographies and stuff like that. I've done so much justice, like just based on that trailer there. We just rewatched there. Like it does looks Oscar bait. But it looks like if this wasn't about wrestling, I think I'd watch this. The group of brothers and the dad ranking his favorites, which is in the trailer. He's
going to be a mega heel on this, isn't he? Mega heel.
About fucking time, mate.
But that depth of character there, that's just there apparent in the trailer.
Yeah.
We all know the real story, but like if that was just a film about like a group of lads who played on the hockey team or something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, want to watch that. Looks well made, looks it looks beautiful, like you say. The sportatorium looks great, all the lads look great, and I want to see that story be told of tragedy. The thing is, we know where it ends, and I think the regular cinema going public might not be ready for the they're gonna watch it going, oh, this is unrealistic. They wouldn't all die in real life. Oh wait, and then they look it up on the wiki and find.
I was going to say they'll get on wiki after it.
The real story might actually be worse if they really have left Chris Von Erich out of it. Like it's dark, and people are going to find out. Get ready for your aunties and people at work and stuff like that to watch this, and maybe this will be the conversation started into New Year, because I think this is going to be massive. It looks like a quality film, and quality director behind it, as you can talk more to the JP, and just a genuinely interesting story. Sean Durkin. What's Sean Durkin's credentials? What else has he got in his locker?
I think I'm just having a look now for his
Martha Marcy May Marlene's one of his.
Martha Marcy May Marlene.
I love that.
I saw and I loved that, and I thought,
the Nest was in it too. Yeah, the Nest.
Yep, the Nest there as well. He directed Southcliffe, which I remember seeing with Sean Harris. That was on Channel 4. That's like, okay, that's kind
really
of
strong.
Interesting. And it is the idea. He grew up in North London as well, so I'm going to make a thing is possibly saying he's an Arsenal fan. So I'm just going to throw that out. I've got no evidence to back that up. He could be Spurs all the way for all I know. But I also think as well, like, he doesn't make films that often, and I always think sometimes that's the sign of a good director, particularly kind of younger directors or indie directors. They're going to do this, but yeah, I'm kind of convinced because it's a story that's kind of needed to be told, isn't it? And
Yeah.
if you get the look right, that's half the battle of it. I know as wrestling fans, we can look. The thing that we're going to have to accept is that there are going to be scenes and stuff that are going to be like changed round. And I think Ryan Nemeth is playing Gino Hernandez.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
if this
wild,
film
isn't it?
does well, that's good. That's great.
Chavo's in it,
Right.
though. That was the only negative. Chavo's in it.
That's his job these days, though. He
Yeah,
works
Jeff as
in
well.
Hollywood, doesn't he?
Jeff Lansony, yeah. Chavo was
Yeah.
on the, what was it, Glow? He was in that way, and he was all right.
Apparently,
He was
your boys,
Colin,
JP.
Yeah.
The MLW Von Erichs did some stunt work on it, so at least they were involved. Unlike Kevin, who
I bet they were bad.
wasn't even
I bet they were genuinely terrible. Like,
Mm.
honestly, whatever stunt work they did, they probably did it badly, and one of them did it barefoot for no apparent reason. But I'm definitely going to see this. This is like the kind of thing that we'll end up like.
Oh, it's
It should
January's
be like-
film club without
Yeah.
doubt. Like
We'll have to
that's
go
the
and
first
see
thing
it.
we do in 2024. Like it
Yeah.
will be like,
Yeah.
so it's going to win Oscars. Like, and yeah, based on the trailer, it's hard to tell from a trailer. Like performance wise, Zac Efron looks the part. Like say the size of him in that trailer, even his face looks molded perfectly for like that kind of grizzled veteran look, wrestler look, and yeah, just like you say, look like pop stars of a certain age. The Von Erichs there, and then you get past them, it's all the darkness underneath it. Are you excited to see it, Matt? It just looks
Oh yeah,
yeah.
can't wait to see this.
genuinely
Like,
compelling.
you're saying young actors. Have a guess how old Zac Efron is. I've just done a quick check. Have a guess how old.
23.
38.
In my head, he's 25 or something like that.
85 he is. So
Oh.
not too bad.
In fairness,
Oh.
Kevin looked old when he was about 10.
Yeah,
So,
he did.
like, I'm not really
He was just
surprised.
grown men at like
on that as
12,
well.
weren't they, JP? That's the way they were.
Oh, they were.
Fritz had them that way. But
But
yeah,
he'll always be
it's
17 to me. He's on that Zac
Force
Efron.
feeding
after
them
his
Jack
other movie.
Daniels before fucking nursery. That
Zac Efron will always be 17 for me because, yeah, 17 again should have won the Oscar the year that came out, but sadly it didn't.
But are we
but anyway.
saying, though, this is going to be like The Wrestler then? It's going to be up for the... Do you think it'll be
Looks
that,
like it.
yeah.
That's why it's coming out on December the 30th, isn't it? Like, that's fully it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Excited for it. So, yeah, obviously we'll get more detail as we get closer to it, but yeah, definitely worth bringing up, JP. Absolutely. Anything else, lads? Anything else anyone wanted to mention?
only a couple of things. There was a couple of little notes on it. The Dyads contracts are expiring this weekend, October 14th.
I've been told that a million times. I thought they were expiring the last Copperbox weekend. Hey, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
AEW written all over them.
Well, apparently they want to stay
Tony
in the
Khan loves
States.
his black and gold NXT, don't he? Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock
But
me.
maybe at some point when they've exhausted all the amount of people who want to go and see AEW wrestling in the US, that maybe they'll come over here for a bit and they'd go down a fucking storm, particularly if they give old Zach the mic, as we've said multiple times. If you want them to to work, they could come in and like he could just be a mega fucking heel. And possibly you want him around in that build like a couple of years' time. You want him in the build up to that World Cup in the US and Canada, don't you? Slagging off the States team and stuff like that.
Get him going strong, like Wembley next year. Great heel, a British star getting mega heat in Britain, like that. I could imagine that visual being really cool. Yeah, I'm excited. If they do, I'd love that. I'd love to see them in an AEW. I mean, as much as I love them, they just put the tag belts on a makeshift team of Ricky Starks and Big Bill, who I love individually, but they're not exactly a tag team, are they? Like that division does need. No. If there's anywhere in AEW you can justify some hires, I actually do think the tag division could do with rounding out with a couple of more proper tag teams. So yeah, throw them in the mix. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
One final note on there. Thank God for this as well. But Luchasaurus has reached they've reached a settlement in the dispute over the merchandising rights.
See the mask? Looks nothing like him. Like the mask they were suing him over, it looks basically like just another mask that could be used for any superhero character. I don't get weird one that old story.
Yeah, but legally you can't just tell people to fuck off, can you?
You should be able to.
Dumb thing, is it? You should be able to. But you can't just go, we're suing you over this and just interrupt and go, fuck. Not even going to pay attention to it.
Oh well, it's over now, the long saga. But yeah, anything more from you, Matt?
No, just just we'll roll on for the ratings next week, innit, Benno? You know, with all numbers, guys.
You care about ratings now, yeah? I'm sure you'll be.
Economics.
Regular 600,000 odd that AEW.
We'll see. We'll see what rating Roman pops as well when he comes back on Friday. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully more than Undertaker did. Anyway. Want to talk about the Raw rating, mate, or is that not
on your radar? It's almost SmackDown, the A show, Benno. Come on, you know that by now.
Yeah. Only been cratering for 20 years in a row. It's fine. Anyway, moving on.
Love it.
Well, there we go. Like we said, there'll be a news update on Friday for patrons, but no full weekend show. But there's plenty more coming. Obviously, if patrons haven't checked it out, observe this with me and JP talking. Sean losing his smile and everything else going on in the middle stages between New Generation and Attitude Era. Fun week of wrestling news. We chatted there. Film Club coming this weekend. So we'll see who comes out on top.
The poll is up.
Yes.
There we go.
So if you want to have a look at the minute, I can tell you what the latest.
Go on. Who's running right now? I reckon Scream will be winning. I reckon
Scream will win this.
That'll be the cup.
IWC.
You're both wrong here. I tell you what, it's Saw at the minute, 50%. Candyman second here, 32%. Scream third on 11. So, like at the minute, we appear to be leaning towards Saw here, which you haven't seen, Matty, have you?
Never seen any of the 10, JP.
On the show,
a minute of them.
It's going to be interesting what you make of it. It's different to what the other ones get, anyway.
I only know Jigsaw, obviously, from the posters. I don't know what his gimmick is. If he can kill people, I don't know anything about it. So yeah, don't tell me.
The spin-off one that Chris Rock directed, and I was just like, "What the fuck is going on here? Terrible." Right. 2 hours. Samuel L. Jackson's in that, and it's just like, lads, this is shit. But that's not the one that's leading there in the moment. If you want to vote in it, patreon.com/grapple.
There you go. Or join us as a member, youtube.com/@grapple. Join us over there as well, where you can participate in such things and enjoy our latest video content that's going on over there, including live spotlight, live weekend show, and all of our other bonus shows. But yeah, with all that out the way, it's been a fun Wednesday spotlight. We'll have to do this again some of the time. It's definitely less stressful than doing a Monday, Tuesday show. But yeah. Oh, sorry, I think you're going to say it.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Balls that up like AEW did this week. It's like, too early. Can't say that.
Good night, all.
And I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.